Excessive. It's excessive.
I was going to say I would have opened it for you, but.
We'll go ahead and begin. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's 22nd meeting of the Board of Directors for calendar year 2025. We'll begin with an invocation by Billy Kitchens with Victory United Pentecostal Church, and I'll lead the pledge. All rise.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come before you tonight, I want to thank you for allowing us all to be here. God, we know that we can do nothing without you. I ask that you would come into this meeting tonight and bless each and every one of the board members and everyone that is here tonight. Help us, Lord, to always put you first in everything we do. God, this nation that we live in was built on godly standards, and I ask that you would help us to build our great city on godly standards as well. Lead us, Lord, to make the right decisions that will always glorify you in everything we do. We thank you and give you all honor and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Phyllis Beard. Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Dudley Webb.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia. Here. Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. At this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from the consent agenda to new business? Director Trustee?
Mayor, I'd like for the board to consider moving item number 6 on the consent agenda down onto the first order of new business tonight, please.
Item 6 is resolution
R25-211.
211, okay. We have a second on that?
A second.
We have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Now we'll do
No.
approval part.
You said oppose, I said no.
Okay, thank you. So recorded. So we'll approve the agenda as amended. Can I have a motion?
I so move.
Director Garcia,
Second.
seconded by Director Trustee. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Agenda is adopted. Consider approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of November 4th, 2025. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Director Garcia, seconded by Director Webb. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are adopted. Recognition of guests. You're all our special guests here tonight, so thank you for joining us. City Manager's report, Mr. Bill Burrow. I know you'll call on Karen Scott initially, but
Yes, sir. Mayor, members of the board, as you just mentioned, Karen Scott, our Finance Director, she is going to provide the third quarter financial report for the board. Karen?
Good evening and thank you. These are financial numbers from September 30th. Of course, they're all unaudited. In the general fund, the 2025 year-to-date revenues over expenditures is $3.8 million, down about $2 million from last year, and the lion's share of that is the fact that expenditures are up for the debt service now being paid for out of the general fund. The street fund, the fund balance, the unrestricted fund balance is $37.1 million, and the restricted fund balance is $5.05 million. In the street fund, the revenues exceed expenditures by $148,384. Revenues are down slightly in the street fund. Expenditures are up about $1.4 million. As we've talked about in previously quarters, that is because of the enhanced expenditures for paving this year. The unrestricted fund balance in the street fund is $15.07 million, and the restricted fund balance is $1.76 million. In the water fund, the revenues over expenditures is $2.65 million, which is down slightly from last year, and that is due to the fact that interest revenues in the water fund are down 5%, and that is because previously we had interest revenues in the water fund that were derivative of the construction funds, the bond funds that have been invested in. As you all know, we are about to finish all the water projects, so the construction funds have been depleted, so therefore the interest earnings are also down. The fund balance in the water fund is $83.8 million. In the wastewater fund, the revenues exceed expenditures by $98,828. That is slightly lower than last year, and that is due to an increase in expenses for debt service in 2025 over 2024. The fund balance in the wastewater fund is $58.48 million. The solid waste fund revenues over expenditures is $554,000. That is about flat from last year, and the fund balance in the solid waste fund is $8.5 million. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Ms. Scott? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Burrow, continue.
Thank you, Mayor. As normal, I'd like to start off with welcoming 3 new hires that we have with the city. Soleil Valvi is with us from the street department, Brian Oliver in airport, and Nicholas Montgomery in the police department. I'd like to welcome those 3 individuals to the city of Hot Springs. Also like to recognize Jesse McDorman and Greg Asher in utilities. Jesse was promoted to the sewer lift manager, and Greg was promoted to sewer lift superintendent. They were able to move up through a retirement. So happy for those 2 gentlemen. They do a great job over there in what is a difficult job, and glad to see them having the opportunity to promote up. Thanksgiving holiday schedules coming up. All city offices except public safety and airport will be closed in observance of Thanksgiving holiday. Will be closed Thursday, November 27th and Friday, November 28th. There'll be no solid waste services operating on Thursday. However, they will resume on Friday. With that, Thursday route will be collected on Friday and Friday on Saturday. Transportation Depot, their offices will be closed both Thursday and Friday. However, Intercity Transit and Paratransit, they won't run Thursday, but they'll resume operations on Friday. Compost facility, they'll be closed both Thursday and Friday. However, they will open at 8 a.m. on Saturday the 29th. And then Garland County District Court will also be closed on Thursday and Friday. Community Resource Center, the Hot Springs Community Resource Center is hosting a free Thanksgiving meal on Thursday, November the 27th from 11 a.m. to 1, where everyone is invited to attend. It'll be held there at the Resource Center at 109 Hobson. For those that are inclined, they will be accepting any food drive donations between now and November 24th. They expect to service somewhere around 400 to 600 meals that day. Want to thank Oaklawn tonight. I got a call from their general manager, Wayne Smith, and he is donating, I think 25 turkeys for that particular meal. So want to recognize them and thank them for that donation. Christmas in Recovery, Hot Springs Police Department's overdose response team is collecting donations to provide a warm holiday meal and then some meaningful gifts for those in treatment this Christmas. I believe they did that last Christmas, and it was really a success. And really reminding them, those that are going through recovery, that they're not alone and they have community support for their recovery. If you'd like more information on that, you can contact our peer recovery specialist, Carrie Montgomery, at 321-6789 at the police department. Her extension is 7724. You can also look that up on our city's website. We're excited to announce that the City of Hot Springs Planning and Development Department has officially implemented their BSNA software. That's a software, as you know, we're converting this year in those departments and moving totally into that in 2026. It's a new improved system designed to make doing business with the city more efficient and convenient. Through this system, contractors and community members have the ability to schedule project inspections online. They can apply for permits online, electronically, pay permit fees securely online. These enhancements reflects our ongoing commitment to improving the customer service and increasing accessibility through our technology. I want to thank Karen Scott. She's the one who really brought this to the forefront and is bringing that to the city, as well as Kathy Selman for being that first department to go through the transition. So if you're interested in that, you can go to the cityhs.net or hotspringsar.gov. Navigate to the Planning and Development Department and then select Permits and Inspections. Want to talk a little bit about Clean Sweep. We've had 3 clean sweeps this year. In October, Neighborhood Services completed the 3rd and final Operation Clean Sweep. Over the 3-week effort, inspectors delivered 603 informational packets. They issued 113 violation notices in the area between Summer Street and the airport. From the railroad tracks to Emory Street, that's kind of the given area. They reached an impressive 82% compliance rate, which is one of the higher compliance rates we've seen through our Clean Sweep operations. Solid Waste Department, the CAPS team, they supported the effort. They collected 20 tons of debris during that 3-week period. And across all 3 clean sweeps this year, inspectors distributed over 1,400 informational packets, had 293 violation notices. Solid Waste made 310 household stops and collected 56 tons. So really good projects on all 3 of those, and appreciate all the efforts that those departments have done. Hot Springs Parks and Trails and Sports Recreation Departments are excited to share that the court resurfacing both at Family Park and at Kimry Park is complete. That's the tennis courts, multi-use courts. We did 2 courts at Family, which also have 4 stripes for pickleball. We did 4 courts at Kimry, which have 8 pickleball stripes. The only thing is you've got to bring your own nets, and that's not uncommon for pickleball players. We're trying to look at a way on how we may be able to set nets out there that can be used when it's not tennis. They can put the nets out. We're a little concerned that if we just put them out there, they could disappear. They're not bolted down like our tennis, but we're looking at ways to do that, possibly through some lock boxes and some locks that have combinations. So we're looking at how we can do that, but welcome to go play on them now. The surfaces look great, but just bring your own nets if you plan on playing pickleball. Also, the Parks and Trails Department is contracted with Cates Construction to complete the first 2,000 feet of the Stokes Creek Greenway Trail. That'll be between Kimry and Richard Street. That'll be the first section, and they've got it cleared, and there's already people walking that trail. It was interesting to see. Their staff is also really busy this time of year with the holiday decorations throughout downtown. The light displays will begin at 6 p.m. on Monday, November 24th, and they'll be up through January 1st of 26. Staff have added additional decorative displays. You've probably seen some of the large snowflakes, the gift box archway that's down here at Spencer's Corner. But that, they work almost 6 weeks nonstop wrapping trees. We have to unwrap them every year because the trees will grow into them. But want to give a lot of kudos to Parks and the work they're doing out there for that. Won't get into too much of parking, but I will say that Lance and I met with Park Mobile today, and that's an app it's the largest app for parking. They do have an integration now with Park Smart, so that's one of the things that we'll be talking about over the next few weeks, is how we can integrate to where you can use your Park Mobile app. It'll be seamless. You won't have to go into Park Smart. They have an integration to that, so if you pay with Park Mobile, it will it would look, for us, it'll look the same as if you used Park Smart. So that was a really productive meeting. Was glad to have that. Since we started our roads now, that paving in 2023, we've completed 48.64 miles of streets, over 190 miles over 190 streets. It's incredible. 57,684 square feet of sidewalks and ADA ramps along with that. The last one that we have for 2025 in our paving plan for 2025 is Exchange Street. Happy to say that was a major water line that we've replaced there. It's been going on now for about 6 weeks. We were able to pave everything from Central Avenue up Mountain all the way to Court Street, so we're past the deck. Tomorrow they'll finish between Court and Prospect, and that'll be the end of our 2025 paving project. have Exchange Street back for the opening of the chili cook-off or the chili cook-off on the 24th. So, Mayor, please my report.
Very good. Any questions of our city manager? Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Bill, how many miles did you say that was? 48?
48.6 over 190 different streets.
190 streets. Thank you.
Mayor, I also like to say that Adam Usry has submitted his resignation. Adam's family's from Jacksonville, and Adam has a great opportunity. He will become and has been named the Parks and Recreation Director for the city of Cabot. Adam's done a great job for us. We've got him for a couple more weeks, and we're looking at that transition now. But wish him well. He's done a good job for the city, and he'll be gone by the time we have our next meeting. So just want to mention Adam and let him know that we appreciate all the work he did while he was here.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to Board of Directors announcements of upcoming events. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to announce on Monday, November 24th, the Tom Daniel Chili Cook-Off in combination with the lighting of the holiday lights. The Chili Cook-Off is 4:30 to 7:30 at the Exchange Street parking deck. And the competition to find out who the top chili cooks are of Hot Springs. You don't want to miss that. And you can order tickets online through downtownhotsprings.org. So that'll be a fun evening on Monday, the 24th.
Very good. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. The event I want to share with you is Taste of the Holidays. That's coming up Thursday, this Thursday, as a matter of fact, November 20th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., being held at Mid-America Science Museum, 500 Mid-America Boulevard. Here at Taste of the Holidays, you can enjoy festive bites and sips from some of Hot Springs' best restaurants, breweries, and caterers while supporting STEM education and exhibits at the museum. The silent auction is also back and filled with unique gifts and experiences that are perfect for holiday giving. For tickets to Taste of the Holidays, you can visit Mid-America Museum's website at www.midamericamuseum.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Director Dobbs Smith?
Yes, I would like to invite everyone to come out to Garvin Woodland Gardens on this Saturday at 5:30. They'll be turning the lights on, and after you've seen these beautiful lights, they're absolutely amazing this year, then go on the Expedia website. I am sharing a link on that where you can vote. We're currently number 6 in the voting for the best botanical garden lighting in the nation. So you can vote once every day, unless you have 2 or 3 emails, and you can vote however many emails you have per day. So I'd love to see us bring that honor to the city of Hot Springs.
Director Holliday?
Yes, thank you. A couple of events. One, I'd like to invite everyone out to the Piccolo Zope Circus. If you guys did not go last year, you missed out. It's a wonderful small family circus that's been around, I believe, for nearly 100 years, if I'm remembering that correctly, the same family. This will take place beginning Tuesday, November 25th, and go through December 6th. It's at 101 Park Avenue, otherwise known as the Majestic site. So it's a wonderful way to activate that space up there that we all look at being empty. But the circus is wonderful. They ask that you arrive about 30 or 45 minutes before showtime. You can explore the tent, get to know some of the performers. The tickets are online at www.piccolozoppe.com, and to spell that, PICCOLOZOPPE.com. It's really a unique and wonderful experience. I also want to share that it's Nutcracker season again. And so the Hot Springs Children's Dance Theater Company does a production of the Nutcracker every year, and it is a mix of their students as young as age 5, along with professional ballet dancers. And so that performance will take place at Lake Point Church, November 28th and 29th, and then also December 5th at the Woodlands Auditorium. Tickets are available at hscdtc.org, which is Hot Springs Children's Dance Theater Company. And for the second year in a row, I will be Mother Ginger. So I don't dance, but I will definitely be on stage. It's a great experience, and like I said, you not only get to see these young people learning ballet and being so excited, but they are right alongside professional ballet performers. So a couple of really great things here at the beginning of the holiday season. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Anyone else? Well, I'm going to butcher this, not because of, I just can't pronounce the word, but Hanamaki, we have a wood manufacturer in Hanamaki, which is our sister city program, and they have a interactive wooden toy exhibition at the Garland County Library. It began November 1. It will run through December 14. So if you have any young children or grandchildren that like to explore the items that we as kids used to have, wooden toys all the time, visit the Garland County Library Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and Sunday 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Admission fee is $8 for children 12 and under. Children under 1 are free, $10 for adults, or if you want to make multiple visits, the $24 for children and $30 for adults during that period of time. So I think that I know my grandchildren are coming in next week, and we're going to make it a play day over there. So right there at the Garland County Library between November 1st and December 14th. So if there's no further items, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh, wait, we got acknowledgement of dates for the first half of 2026 already. That's in your board packet. No vote is required, just acknowledgement that we presented those. Moving on to the consent agenda, these are of routine nature that do not merit individual discussion. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Director Garcia, seconded by Director Webb.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Now, earlier this evening, we moved one item from the consent agenda to be the first item under new business, and that is to consider R-25-211. I ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-211, a resolution extending a contract for services with Hot Springs Advertising and Promotion Commission to support youth programs at Majestic Park. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion and a second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Webb, seconded by Director Garcia. And the staff report.
Mayor, beginning in 2022, the City of Hot Springs, through the Board of Directors, began contracting with the A&P to provide services at Majestic Park in support of youth programs. Under Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-58-104, you are permitted to extend an existing contract by term without going through competitive procurement. So this is what is being proposed. Therefore, it is the same terms that you had previously had. It would just be for another calendar year in the sum of $75,000 to support those programs.
Any questions of Brian on this item? Who provided? A&P hasn't always provided the baseball program.
Correct. This goes back to the Boys and Girls Club days. The City of Hot Springs contract with the Boys and Girls Club to provide these programs for the youth of the city.
Okay. Any further questions of Brian?
Mayor, I will say that Derek Phillips, the manager for Majestic Park, is here tonight in the audience if the mayor or any board members need any information from him.
Besides recognizing Derek, did we have any other people sign up for this?
No, sir.
I know it was on consent, so.
So we did not.
Derek, did you want to make any comment as to what you anticipate the program to look like this year? I know you had a fall league, and that's a little smaller than or substantially smaller than their spring league.
If you don't remind that, just repeat your question.
Just what do we expect for the upcoming youth baseball season?
Well, we're concluding our fourth season this week, and in 4 years we've grown from 500 kids to over 800 kids. So it's trended up every year. We have 5 fields, and we only hold so many, but I don't see any reason for it to slow down. Our tournaments have been just as big and as many, if not, it's just been great. You know, we had a tournament in November, which, you know, football ended for some of the local programs, and we're still playing baseball and softball. So I don't see any reason to think anything would change.
Okay.
We had our flag football championship last
Flag
night.
football rings were passed out last night. That program grew a little bit, and baseball's grown in the fall as well. We have had over 500 kids in this fall league for baseball, 800 in the spring. So, you know, the programs are doing well and growing each year.
Now, I know you try to provide an opportunity for all children regardless of socioeconomic means. You have scholarships.
Absolutely.
Right.
We started a 501c3 to help scholarship kids. Its only mission in its 501c3 is to help kids pay registration fees and provide equipment. And we try to keep our kids in, you know, nice new equipment. And that scholarship fund, we actually fundraise for that. So it takes a lot more than just, you know, we need help in any direction we can get it. And that's why we do fundraising ourselves, and have a lot of coaches and parents and families that help, you know, provide some of these, whether it's equipment or coaching or anything. So we do a lot with the scholarships.
Okay. How many children were on a scholarship?
Last year was our biggest number. It was right at 130.
130
130 of our kids were scholarshiped
out of maybe 800.
out of 800, yes, sir. Just over 800 this past year. We had 801 in 2024, and I think we had 813 in 2025 in the spring.
Okay. Very good. Any questions of Derek? Director Garcia?
Not specifically a question, but I wanted to point out that the resolution is to support youth programs. So this could be more than just the baseball program. It could, one of our goals is a sports complex to facilitate soccer and tennis and pickleball. And the commission has indicated support moving forward with this goal. And I view this resolution as being encompassing of more than just baseball in the future.
At Majestic Park?
Or at other sites, not necessarily at Majestic Park, because we have a goal to have more sports complex, but in the model that is set up for Majestic. That, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's a question for you. That was a comment I wanted to
Okay, I thought that was a question for me, and I'm.
No.
No,
She
she's
gets a lot of-
looking
I
at
prefaced it
the
that it
ability
is
to
not.
expand
Yeah.
programming for area youth.
Right, because the contract for services or use agreement or whatever we're looking at here is to help support a program that we provide for our community, okay? And it, you know, it's not a big money maker. It's a service to the community, sort of like Kimry. You guys have Kimry Park. You run a girls program and adult programs for the community, and you support that. We run this program. We ask for a little support. Maybe the difference in what it costs for you to run Kimry and all the staffing versus what we ask for is, I think, probably a good thing and a positive for the city.
Win-win.
I would think so.
Okay, any further questions of Derek? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Derek, I love to sit back and listen to your numbers on scholarships. You know, 130 out of 800 and something is a very magical number, and I'm glad to know that there are contributions to that effort, and I'm glad to know that the city is there to support what you're trying to do, not just for the sports, baseball and then flag football, but also to just encourage our youth to get out and be active, you know, to take attention away from negative things in their life and instead be a part of a team. Have you ever turned away anybody from a scholarship?
Absolutely not.
That just puts a cherry on the cake.
Yes, sir.
appreciate your
I
effort.
appreciate you saying that, because we do work really hard as a staff and as our board for the Majestic Park Scholarship Fund and the Friends of Majestic Park to do that fundraising. You know, we do that through fundraisers, not asking for, you know, additional funds from anybody else, and look for grant opportunities. So we work really hard to make sure all the kids play and have nice new equipment.
Thank you.
Right. Any additional questions of Derek? Director Holliday?
Thank you. I would just ask in the future, and part of this is not being on AMP, it's not something that's presented to me on a regular basis, but if there's any way in the future, not contingent with this, but that we could get a really basic like P&L of the program. When this were to come up again next year, I think it could be helpful to, like you're saying, it's on the one hand kind of a small investment for a big bang, but to kind of look at what all it does take. And so everybody can see what all it takes to make the park and all the programs run and how big that is. I think it could be helpful for us to see that. And I know we do get the AMP financials in our email. However, that's all of the Advertising and Promotion Commission and Visit Hot Springs. So if it were distilled into a really simple P&L in the next packet, I know I would appreciate that, and I think it could be helpful.
Mr. Burrow, is that something you will request at the time to ask for it next year?
Yeah, basically it's your budget, you know, what's your
Sure.
income, what's your expenses. So, yeah, we'll do that next year.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
I'm always available for anyone to call or come by and see the park and tell you what we do and, you know, what we provide for the community and besides that. So I would, you know, as we're having this discussion right now, sort of, you know, at the moment, I'm there all year and willing to meet with you guys and show you guys what we do, so you can see, so you know what we're doing. So when this decision comes, you have a better idea of everything that's going on. I'm always available for you guys.
Director Garcia?
Yes, the budget committee meeting is next Monday for the A&P budget, and Vicki can, upon request, can set that up in a sub-account where a separate P&L can be generated. I'm sure we can talk to her.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Director Trusty, was your hand up, though?
Yeah, but
I
yours
think
was
it
first. Go ahead.
I'll yield to you. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I asked for this to be moved down to new business. I certainly support the program. I've been to several games down there. I've had a grandson who's played down there. I've been by and had the tour. You're doing a great job. My only question was, where does our $75,000 go specifically? Does it go into the Friends of the Park? Does it go into the 501c3? Does it go into the general operating budget for Visit Hot Springs? Or if there's no separate account set up for this right now, where do our funds go? Do they all go to scholarship?
No, it goes in.
It does not go in either one of the 501c3s.
For the
It does not.
Majestic.
It does not.
Okay.
It goes into our operating fund to help offset the cost of league, which having 800 kids, you pay a lot in umpires and baseballs and equipment and staffing and utilities. And there's a lot goes into that.
But it's not the general operating account. It goes into the Majestic.
That's correct.
Park
Yeah, that's
operating.
correct. It goes
That's what I
into
wanted to clarify,
our
not
general account, not overall Visit Hot
Exactly.
Springs. That's correct.
Any additional questions? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll follow back up now. I'm not sure I've got a question. Well, I will have a question at the end of this, but I can recall a time, Derek, this was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you know, High Impact has its facilities next door to the Majestic baseball parks. And I can recall a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, where you allowed a lot of the youth at High Impact to get a feel for what it's like to work. And you allowed those youth to work inside of the concession stand at minimum wage and work in the concession stand and provide aid to your staff along the way. And they got to take those proceeds, I think, to some degree. There may have been some breakdown with how that was paid out, but they got to take those proceeds and put it towards a use for High Impact curriculum for their math, I think, and literacy curriculum programs over there. So that served a multitude of purposes for our youth, not only to get experience of what it feels like to actually go out and work, but also provide a service for others and also get some good positive interactions within the community and feel good at the end of the day because they did a great thing for their community. Are you still doing that today?
We haven't done it recently. I know that we've just had a really open relationship with Amos and the program at High Impact and doing a multitude of different things, from using the facility to using the other office/house that we have there, and we're always doing different things. That's just something specifically we haven't done, but it's not like that door's closed. It's just not something he's had
You haven't
kids
been-
doing in the last, I'd say, definitely this year for sure it hasn't happened.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you doing it that one time and maybe on other further occurrences, because I know it had an impact in a lot of their lives. You know,
It did.
We're
It
talking
definitely
about
did.
youth that are in, junior high school and maybe sophomores, juniors, and senior high school to get a taste of what it's like to work and be a functioning part of society. So if he were to ever come up with that request again, would you entertain it?
Oh,
moving
absolutely.
forward?
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff together and always open to new ideas or things they need to do out there, whether it's using the field for the lights on ceremony or playing in the playground or on a field or any programs. We've had some program ideas we've discussed in the past, and we're always looking for things to do to help provide the program to be better for the kids at High Impact, being our neighbor.
Thank you.
Any additional comments, questions?
Not from him.
And I know, like, is there anybody in the audience that wanted to speak on this since we didn't have a sign-up sheet? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll call the discussion amongst directors. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't have any further questions for you, Derek. I just.
Derek, you can return to your seat. You're fine. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. The comments were made earlier that we used to support the Boys and Girls Club in this similar way to support youth programs. I favored that too. I had 2 children who went through those programs. My only question tonight is the financial source of where this money should come from. This is a division of the Advertising and Promotion Commission. The A&P Commission has a 3% sales tax that supports their operations. I mean, I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity. You said your budget meetings are Monday. So is there an opportunity to request a budget increase from A&P Commission to the Majestic Park program? Just something to think about. I mean, I support the programs. I've told you that. I've been down there. We were there this summer for the World Series. So I know what a great job they're doing. And it's not that at all. And it's not discounting the fact that some of the participants need a scholarship. The only question I have tonight is the source of those funds to go to that scholarship program.
Director Garcia?
Can I make a response? Oh,
Please.
In the, what I anticipate in the budget meeting, there are going to be some one-time increased costs next year due to the CEO retirement. And they'll be hiring a new person that will be working side by side. So for a period of time, there will be I would expect, we talk about having there's going to be increased salary costs because of that overlap in transition from the retiring CEO to the new person. So for increasing other costs, the timing of it going into the 2026 budget isn't optimum.
Mayor,
Director Trustee?
just last comment from me. I would echo what Director Holliday said just a moment ago. I'd like to see a budget on the program next year when we consider this, and we'll be past that 2 CEO time period, and it might be an opportunity for the A&P Commission to just fund the entire program.
Very good. Any additional comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Our next item is to consider Resolution R-25-213 and ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-213, a resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract for economic development assistance with Hot Springs Metro Partnership pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated Section 14-58-104. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Dobbs Smith, second by
Second.
Director Trustee. Staff report will be provided by Mr. Brian Albright.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, I'll at least attempt to set the table. For many years, the City of Hot Springs has contracted with Hot Springs Metro Partnership for Economic Development Assistance to create diverse job opportunities and encourage the development and expansion of industry and business. Much like the previous item that we discussed, that contract can be extended for another year pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated Section 14-58, 104, subparagraph 18, which states that the governing body of the city of a first class, city of the second class, or an incorporated town may purchase the following commodities without soliciting bids. 18 states renewal or extension of the term of an existing contract. So what is being presented to you tonight is the same terms that we've previously had for the next calendar year ending December 31st, 2026.
Very good. Any questions of Brian on this item? Okay, we have a number of people that have signed up to speak. Just a review of our policies. Each presenter has 3 minutes to provide your comments. You know, we'll ask you a question or two perhaps, but try to hold your presentation to 3 minutes, and then that way everybody will have a chance to talk. We'll go ahead and begin with Mr. Tyler Draper. Please come forward and state your name, address, and district, please.
Good afternoon, Tyler Draper, District 5 here in Hot Springs. You know, I think the chamber has done a good job with the city promoting jobs. I got to do Leadership Hot Springs, so I think they've done a good job. You know, the big issue here, and the reason a lot of people are here tonight, is obviously the Majestic property. I would like to see them continue to get to promote the property, but I would ask that there be a little bit more transparency. Nothing good comes out of being exclusive and not sharing with the public what's going on. Recall when that property was bought, city, y'all got it for $600,000. I think y'all put like $2 million, maybe more, into fixing it up. And so, you know, people that I know are always asking, hey, you know, that was bought with city money. Why is this not being subjected to FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act? So like I said, I would love for the chamber to keep going. And I think at last meeting, City Director Webb said maybe we could have some more opening with the city and sharing some of that. But I would definitely be in favor of more transparency, especially since taxpayer money was used with that. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Draper? Thank you. Mr. Tom Wilkins, please come forward and state your name and address and district, please.
My name's Tom Wilkins, and just for the record, being a sound guy, you can't hear anything back there, Mayor. I know you'll have to communicate, but we would like to listen too. Just a friendly comment. 100 Choctaw Court, District 2. I've been around a while. In fact, I'm one of the last dinosaurs left from downtown. In those years, I've seen a lot of different things. I have talked to Aaron in the past about something called outdoor amphitheater. Remember those days, Aaron? Marcia, you and I go way back. You go back to the years of the Majestic itself with your boutique in there that you had, which was a great boutique. Mary, you and I go back a long ways too. We're both from Wisconsin. Forgive that for everybody else, right? Correct, Mayor? I'm skipping a few here just because. Dudley, you're one of the shining stars of this group up here. I truly mean that. I know I'm taking too much time, but Karen, you're kind of like me. You're another dinosaur that's been around a long time and a common sense person. Steve actually was my banker for years, and I'm still broke.
And I did perform on your stage once.
You did, and we're going to, okay, can we start my time now? As I said, I've been around the block a few times. Some of you may remember something at Oak Lawn, a great event called Spa Blast. Dick Antoine, myself, and a fellow named Tom Daniel made that happen for 25 years. Pretty big deal. This is not about me, but it's some foundation I want to lay here. By the way, I had a speech tonight, the best speech you ever heard in your life. And I'm not going to say it. I'm going to talk from the heart about what I feel about downtown. Arkansas Walk of Fame, you know I started that. Chairman of Veterans Memorial, I found along with a guy named Kent Myers. You remember Kent Myers, former city manager? Kent and I walked down there one day with a couple other people and said, those are the site needs to go instead of up on Whittington Avenue. I'm going to close this here because I'll start getting into too many talking points, but I would like to say this. This is not personal. This is about the future of Hot Springs. It's about the future of downtown, which I'm very passionate about. Downtown is the heart of Hot Springs. It always has been the heart. We've had rough years. When I came in 1986, you could have shot a cannon down that street and not hit anything. But I had a vision for a family music show. It happened. I made it happen with God's help. 31 years in that building, and now it's empty. Hurts my heart every time I drive downtown, but that's my problem. Mayor, you have a business downtown. Marcia, you've had one. Anybody else have a business downtown? Unless you've experienced tourism, you will never understand it. I see the mayor almost every day. I'm downtown, and almost every day I see you walking up and down those streets doing things, picking up trash, doing what I consider visible things. And you're down there, of course, promoting your business, which you should be. Hot Springs is people. But if we let the rock garden keep going like it has been the last many years since, well, I think it was May the 27th of 2014 when Majestic burned. Were any of you there and see it burn? Some of you were. I was too. We sat across the street and cried. Folks, this is about having the right vision at the right time. Yes, it's taken a while. These gentlemen sitting back here are going to talk against everything I'm saying probably, but they're good people, just with the wrong vision. I have the right vision. I talked to somebody today that gave $15,000 towards these folks back here.
Yeah, Tom, you need to provide a closing comment, please.
That's the sad part here, Mayor. This is really important stuff here. This is our future downtown. And I will, but you're going to miss some really good facts. $1.2 million has been given these folks in the last 3 years to promote downtown. What have you got now? Look down there. See what it affects you, Mayor. It affects all of us. We need a vision, and we need to move forward with that. I have enough material in my head. I don't have to look at my notes. Please, we can do better. We can do better. Working with groups like this, not working against each other.
Thank you.
Okay, I've been shut off. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cole McCaskill? Cole?
I need to go before Cole.
Oh, that's fine. Gary, I was just trying to go down my sheet here.
If it's all right, we're just going to do two-parter, if that's okay. Gary Troutman, 451 Lakeland Drive, District 5. So, obviously, we report every month. I've given you all 11 reports this year. By rough count, 96 over 8 years. We try to be as transparent as possible, everything that's not subject to NDA. I'll just recap some highlights for the year. You know, at broadband, we didn't have any broadband in 2019, not really. We'll be at 98% coverage in the next 2 years. Downtown has added 247 new businesses since the Majestic fire. We'll talk about the Majestic in a minute. Workforce, you know, we brought on Gary Jackson. We've done some very innovative things that chambers all over the country are emulating. I presented at the U.S. Chamber of the University of Arizona, the Walton Group in Bentonville, and the State Chamber banquet just on Chamber Conference on Workforce. Transportation, we're still the only community in Arkansas that has, that hosts the Highway Commissioners every year. One thing I didn't get to tell you about the projects we had, Mountain Valley Water and Molecular Processing, but I've insinuated at other meetings. Behind every great deal, there are people. And we got to meet some really quality people from Australia to New York to Maine with the Mountain Valley folks. And we spent 2 days with the folks from LA at Molecular Processing. And I tell you that to tell you that they really had one request of us, that could we have the city come, and thanks to Tom Broughton and team came from the fire department to hear their information, and RDOT. And we have a great relationship with RDOT, and they sent 2 folks down for a very innovative product that they wanted them to see. So I'm proud to do that work for you. Just since I reported last Monday, again, we spent 2 days with the Molecular Processing folks from LA. Great rapport with them. We met with our 5 aerospace companies. We've taught workforce at Cutter and Jessieville, 3 separate classes, and attended the State Chamber and Associated Industries, their equivalent of the Metro Partnership board meeting. And I'm proud to tell you, Wayne Smith and I are the 2 folks representing Hot Springs on that. That's all well and good, but I'd like to do something over and above tonight. I'd like to show you a project list, and I'll ask Lance to pass it out if he'd be so kind. These are projects for the last 8 years. Mayor, I'm looking at the clock. I'll try to be real respectful of that. I'll answer any questions if you'd like. But as you can see, we've had 4 projects this year. I have told you about the Passport Center, so I don't want to not give those folks their due. They'll probably want to have a big announcement. The one thing about Mountain Valley, we are under an NDA where we can't disclose the amount of investment, but you can probably interpolate at a 200,000 square foot building just at, roughly cheap commercial cost, how many millions that will lead into. So, all things considered, you're talking several million, you're talking about 1,100, and will be more when those 2 TBDs are added in there. Ritter said that they spent $7 million. We know they tore up $7 million in equipment just because of the terrain here. So the numbers really are a lot better actually than they look. But the point being, and we can talk about Majestic a little bit, Todd and Brian will, but it's been a good relationship back and forth for city and Metro Partnership. A lot of jobs created, a lot of opportunity, a lot of new revenue for our community. And somebody said something that just kind of struck me funny, so we produced this list, and you'll obviously see that after big wins, Origami Sake, they've already exploded. They're in 37 states. Amazon was a big coup for last year, but we've had 4 projects this year alone. So arguably our best year, and certainly if you judge on dollars and projects, it will be. So that's really all I wanted to make. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Mr. Troutman? Director Garcia?
Thank you for this list. On the jobs column, are all of those new jobs created, or some of them retention?
Those should be all new jobs, Director Garcia.
Thank you.
And I owe you a response from last week. You asked me about molecular processing. They will be adding those jobs, but they're going to have to expand their facility first. They are not ready to. You asked me what was the criteria for them bringing it. They're not ready to do that yet. But I did ask them your question last week.
Thank you.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Gary, and is the other Mr. Gary here too?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't. Where's he?
Oh, there.
All right. So I got just a couple of points. I mean, the first one was last week. I asked about and I'm looking at the contract here. I asked about the 12,500, and that was shared with me that the $12,500, which you actually pay about $12.50 per month for 2 different billboards, actually comes out to about $15 a year. But the 12.5 essentially goes for billboards. But I'm looking at the contract for Metro Partnership, and the way that we have that worded is additional sum of $12,500 is for business and residential recruitment programs. So the question I have is, how does 2 billboards fit into being business and residential recruitment programs?
Well, I mean,
I want to preface that question because I look at a program and I think of having a program narrative, some type of summary involved, curriculum, goals, vision, particularly maybe a mission statement, events, updates, meetings, class people involved, and maybe even a board per se with some oversight, which I think you could probably attribute to the Metro Partnership Board in this case. But how does a billboard fit into a program?
Well, first off, not to
And maybe
correct
there's
you at all,
more.
but you asked about 12.5, and I said, well, we spend more than that just on the billboards. The billboards is not meant to be anything an end-all, be-all. It is a very public, and coming from a background in advertising, it is a passive reach to the folks that have had a good experience in Hot Springs. They're both strategically placed, one on the way to Benton, one on the way, if you will, back to Texas, because we know where many of our visitors come from. That wasn't the answer, the end-all, be-all. That was just where you mentioned 12.5, and I said, well, we spend more than that. We put 2,500 of ours with it just for that. What I don't think that you were considering is that Cole and Kendall and our brand-new employee, Kendall Fumby Bell, I sure wanted her to be here tonight. There was a nice feature on her in the Sentinel Record yesterday, but she's finishing up her degree at Ouachita and had a commitment tonight. But she and Cole spend $0 on a regular basis, flyers, photos, websites, mass marketing emails. All this is produced in-house by those 2 folks, and you don't see a price tag on it. But as I mentioned to you last week, Move to Hot Springs is a very real and a website that has expenses associated with it. I don't want to cloud the issue. I was just saying, well, we spend more than 12.5 on one item, but we have Kendall now in particular, after taking Hannah's spot, and Cole that does this advertising that doesn't have a dollar figure to it per se.
So would any of what you just listed have any connection to business and residential recruitment? You're saying that the work they're doing behind the scenes, that essentially could be,
And so
it's a 0 in terms of the 12.5, but it's a lot of man hours.
There's a lot of man hours, and
How does that fit into the business and residential recruitment? Is that kind of what they're working to do?
that is what they're working on, to build a better story for Hot Springs to get people here. But let me add another to the equation. I was at a conference, and Greensboro presented, Greensboro, North Carolina. I think I even told you all about it a couple of months ago. But Greensboro sent a green box to young people who had moved away from Greensboro, who they really wanted to lure back home. And we would like to do that same. I'm literally just finishing up the year and trying to get these projects done. Obviously, the 2 big ones were taking quite a bit of time, but we would like to reach out to our young people in 2026, whether that be a purchase list or whether that be a list developed from you all, from our board. I know Forrest Spicer is here tonight, a past chair. That was his mission the year that he was chairman of the partnership, to try to get our young people home. But that was the message Greensboro sent. They sent it to young professionals all over the country. They said, you have grown since you left Greensboro, but Greensboro has grown since you've been gone, and we'd love to get you back home. So I say all that, Director Webb, to say that is something that, we don't just go to these conferences for fun. We actually try to bring something tangible, and that is something that I've talked to my board, and we would really like to do in 2026. Now, that costs a little money. That's putting together a package. We won't obviously emulate them and send a green box, but putting a bundle of things that are Hot Springs made, and we could probably, you all could come up with 5 pretty easy. I've got Mountain Valley Water on the brain because I've been presented twice on it today. But just things of that nature that we send to young folks across the country and saying, hey, we'd like to get you back home. There would be obviously postage, there would be producing the package, those sorts of things. So that is something I think would be very tangible that we would like to do going forward. I just want to get lost in the billboard. We could cancel the billboards tomorrow. I happen to, coming from newspaper advertising, the last thing I was a proponent of was billboards because I think it is so passive. But as you know, as media has changed over 20 years and people leave Hot Springs with such a positive experience, I sure like seeing that big invitation up there on the wall, on the wall above Fisherman's Wharf and halfway to Benton. I think it just bodes well. And like I said, strategically, it's on the way out of town. It's not coming in. So
I think the point I have for bringing that question up is it all comes back to being honest. And I think it was Tyler mentioning transparency earlier. And if we're going to list it in this contract as for business and residential recruitment programs, but it essentially is going for billboards, we might ought to revisit. If the board's in favor of just that 12.5 going to billboards, then it should be worded that way. Because I look at it and I'm under the impression that this is going for a business and residential recruitment program when it isn't. And if that's the case, if where the board feels that this money should be better suited is going for this business and residential recruitment programs or billboards, we should say that. As we go through and look at each line item, if I give anybody, and I know you're probably the same way, if I were to give somebody $12,500 and they tell me, okay, I'm going to take this money and put it towards a program, I would expect that program to have, like I was saying, the curriculum and goals, but in a vision and a mission per se. Or if our intention is to have it go for billboards, which might support the programs that are embedded in a different and maybe encompassed in the $100,000, then we should list that for the 12.5. It just needs to be specific as to what it's going to be spent for.
With all due respect, I specifically mentioned that the billboards are just a part of it. I mean, that's something we could end tomorrow if anybody felt that way. I just like having that as a supplement, certainly not as the main crux of our recruitment efforts.
Right.
Any additional questions for Mr. Troutman?
I have one.
Director Dobbs-Smith.
Is this contract for, when I look at the item on our agenda, it says this a contract for economic development for the Metro Partnership. Is this a partnership, is this for the Chamber of Commerce, or which serves with helps support our local business, or is this to bring in new business through the Metro Partnership?
To bring in new business, create new jobs, create new revenue for the city and the county and the community as far as that matter.
So this money doesn't go to fund the Chamber's electric bill?
Not one bit. Not one bit. We're audited, Director Dobbs-Smith, we're audited every year. I mean, we've shared those before, and every audit's clean, and
I'm as guilty as anyone, but when we talk about Metro Partnership, I say Chamber of Commerce, but they're two separate entities?
Very much so, yes.
And two separate budgets?
Correct.
Thank you.
And if I may further your point, Cole and Gary are both exclusive employees of the Metro Partnership. I kind of wear two hats myself, as do Cheryl and Kendall and Kim. But obviously I spend a lot of time in economic development, but that's only for, to make the numbers work. Yeah, we have two people that are exclusive Metro Partnership employees, Cole and Gary.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to ask Cole next.
Yeah, I was going to call on Cole.
He's got a supplement to the report I gave you.
Very good. Mr. McCaskill, please come forward and state your name, address, and district, please.
Cole McCaskill, I'm Vice President of Economic Development for the Hot Springs Metro Partnership. I live at 251 Humphreys Road. This document that's coming around is an accompaniment to the project list that Gary just sent around. This is an economic impact of the projects that we worked in 2025. So as you just heard, we work a lot of projects. We got 4 of them across the finish line this year. If you skip down to the first, the blue text here that says key economic impact, those 4 manufacturers are going to create 165 new jobs at their manufacturing facilities. One of the main reasons why we focus on manufacturing is because manufacturing jobs tend to pay a higher wage, higher than the average wage in Arkansas. One of the other reasons we focus on manufacturing jobs is because those jobs have a much higher multiplier effect than many other jobs do. So if you're looking at this under the blue, key economic impact, 165 direct jobs created. That's going to support the creation of an additional 346 additional jobs in our community due to the induced and indirect effects of those new jobs. So when a manufacturer increases production, they hire more employees. That creates more demand up and down their supply chain. So there'll be more materials purchased from their suppliers. They'll have to hire more employees to handle that load. And then in turn, when these new employees are spending money in our economy through retail, healthcare, housing, consumer markets, the increase in the spend there is going to create new jobs in all of those economies as well. Moving down to the next bullet point, these 165 new jobs will create new payroll of $25.3 million. That's going to trickle through our economy, as I'll explain here in a sec. And then those manufacturers are going to invest over $80 million in their properties, and that's going to generate one-time construction impacts, and it's also going to generate immediate and long-term taxable property and personal property in our community. So jumping down to the table here, the local fiscal impact. The city sales tax should see a sizable increase from these projects, assuming that about 60% of payroll is spent locally and about 67% of Garland County taxable sales occur within the city limits. At the 1.5 cent sales tax rate in the city, there should be $153,000 a year increase in sales tax revenue, and that's annual and ongoing, as long as those jobs are in place. Moving to the next row here, the construction sales tax within the city. Based on the numbers that we've seen from these investments, there should be about a $319,000 one-time sales tax boost for city revenues. Moving down to the third column, we're not doing this in a vacuum. Garland County is going to increase as well. So again, assuming 60% of new payroll is spent locally, that should be about a $228,000 a year increase in Garland County revenues. And then finally, moving to the property tax. Based on the figures we've seen, about 20% of assessed value is about $16 million at the average millage rate, which is about 45 mills. This varies based on school district in Garland County, but it's about 45 mills average. That should be about a $723,000 a year increase in local property taxes collected. The vast majority of that, about 90%, goes to the local school district, wherever the investment is happening. The rest goes to the county general fund, the Garland County Library, and National Park College. So just to sum it all up, this is the benefit of the projects that we work. I was happy to run this report and show in real terms how it's going to ripple through the local economy. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. In a couple of questions. On the construction sales tax, our records reflect differently based on the rebates that manufacturing are issued, that decreases what would have been the calculated sales tax.
Sure.
In your report, did you use any rebates for a net number?
No, and in fact, none of these manufacturers are going to be in the city of Hot Springs, so they don't qualify for that city sales tax rebate. So if there was one of these manufacturers inside the city limits, it might be the case where we brought, like we've done, a tax back resolution in years past that has been approved by this body, but I don't see any of those coming with these projects that have been announced.
But it says sales tax city.
Correct.
For
So
construction.
let's say Mountain Valley Water is building a new facility. If that contractor purchases those materials inside the city limits, it would be subject to the 1.5 cent sales tax.
It's based on where it's delivered.
Okay.
If they bought it here and took possession here, but if they're having it delivered out there, it may not be, but if they file for a rebate, it still would not help us, what we've seen. And where city sales tax increase for payroll spending, and the payroll, this is payroll on all city employees, employees that live in the city.
No, this is the payroll on all of the employees that I'm quoting that are being created, all the new jobs that are being created here.
And so but everybody doesn't even live in Garland County. Was this layered out?
No, these are just rough projections based on basic assumptions for economic development growth.
This would be the very best case scenario.
I wouldn't say best case, but I would say these are pretty general assumptions that are agreed upon in running these models. Yeah. What I'm doing here is that 25 million, we're assuming that 60 of that is going to be spent locally, and then we're assuming that 67% of that figure is spent within the city of Hot Springs.
So what you put in parentheses, that is your assumption?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Cole? Thank you, Cole.
Thank you.
Mr. Bob Driggers.
By the way, this microphone sounds horrible back there. I don't know how it sounds to you folks. But I'm going to talk about the Hot Springs Metro Partnership. We've had years, or they have, to sell the Majestic property. How long do we have to wait before we all agree they have failed? They've come to the city and the county with the same story every year, for years. They tell us no out-of-town groups have submitted proposals. How long do we continue to hear this fabrication? If you go to YouTube, Sweet Pea, look up the Majestic Resort 2, you will see that there have been out-of-town people interested in building things here. Matter of fact, a $200 million hotel on that site. You can see the video right there. YouTube, Sweet Pea, the Majestic Resort 2. And the partnership tells us they're excited. They always say that. Just wait until next week or next month. But they won't give us the names. How long do we have to believe this hogwash? They tell us about new jobs in town that they had nothing to do with. Ask a lot of the new places, what did the partnership have to do with your job, with your business? They're not realtors. They don't know how to sell and market property. They're certainly not economic developers. Now, their predecessors, Jim Fram, David Byerly, Jay Shesher, they were all CEDs, Certified Economic Developers. But I would recommend that the partnership, and any of you that are interested, just Google Bob Driggers Economic Development 101. You'll see a podcast that I did that is an overview of economic development. And yes, we brought thousands of jobs to South Texas. So check them out. What have they really accomplished? I'm proud to have taken less than the 3 minutes that you allowed. Do you have any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Driggers? Hearing none, thank you. Mr. Brian Smith. please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
Good evening. I'm Brian Smith, 451 Quail Ridge. I'm the chairman of the board of the Metro Partnership, also a committee member of the Majestic Committee. During the agenda meeting last Monday, Majestic Committee members Vince Sanguinelli and Scott Dews stood before you, and they indicated that we had two proposals that we're expecting by 12/31. One from the Garland County Library, and the other from Rick Williams, who's a developer, Brooks Atwood, an architect, and Gianna Wartzel, who's a creative strategist, and they're proposing a mixed-use development. I just wanted to confirm for you that that's still the case. We're still expecting that proposal by 12/31, and everything is on schedule for that. As was indicated earlier tonight, and it's also my understanding that during the agenda meeting on the 10th, that Director Webb was possibly looking or asking that the agreement between the Majestic Committee and the city be amended, allowing for proposals to be received, not just to the Majestic Committee, but allowing for possibly the city board to receive those proposals. We're asking if that's the decision that the board decides to go with. We're asking that 12/31 still be used as a cutoff date as far as proposals being received. And we're also asking that if you receive any proposals, that those proposals be also forwarded to the Majestic Committee, giving us the opportunity to visit with them. And it would also give us the opportunity to rank and rate those potential developers. We would start that process in January, and we would conclude it on March 31st, the end of the first quarter, having everything back to you so that you could review it and make your decision on it. So I'm here to answer any questions if you have any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Smith? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Smith, thank you for being here tonight. So I want to clarify something that you just said, which was from the previous meeting, November 10th. And I'm not saying that you said anything wrong, but I just want to make sure that y'all understand that the amendment that I am preparing to make at some point tonight is to not take any of your systematic functions away from you. I just want to open another door for proposals.
That's what I was meaning. I didn't mean to insinuate anything else.
So,
That's exactly what I meant.
Anything that y'all have going on, you keep plugging along.
Right.
I just want to make another vetting opportunity available. It's almost as if we got a vetting route here, we got a vetting route here. And it really comes down to being a developer's choice. Heck, they could do both if they feel like it, you know? But the Metro has a vet, the city staff has a vet. That's the type of amendment that I want to make. It has nothing to do with closing a door to the Metro. All it is opening another door.
Okay. No, I wasn't insinuating the door being closed at all.
Okay. The other, and this comes back to, I think, the two proposals that were mentioned last week, and then you were bringing up here tonight. You mentioned that those two are still on the table. Matter of fact, each are due to have proposal submissions by the 31st of December.
That's correct.
Correct? And then the rate and rank system would kick in.
Yes.
And then by March 31st, there's something to be presented to the board out of that?
Yes, that
Does
would
sound
conclude
correct?
our process.
Okay.
We'll be done with it, yes.
So the question I have, I've got to look for my notes, deals with the library. And that rendering, we all got to see. It came out in the paper too. And I applaud our Garland County Library for making that rendering and proposal public to everybody. And I applaud you and the Metro Partnership for supporting that effort too. You know, getting it out where we could have a look and see everything that might go into that particular development. And I've gotten mixed reviews on it. I've heard some really positive things, and then I've heard others who, have a different viewpoint. The question I have is, if, let's say, the library were to receive positive results from a rate and rank system, and it be one of the potential proposals that you bring to the board the 31st, how do you have any, and I've got to look over at Brian to make sure that I phrase this question right, would it involve a bond? And if it's to where they haven't got whatever it costs to build, because it looks like it could be in the multi-million-dollar range to build the facility that was presented to us. Not only is it a library, but it's got STEM, classroom opportunities for youth and for the community. It's got 3 or 4 different retail stores available. It's got a theater for fine arts. It's got even a parking deck, I think, that they were sharing, which could be available for downtown use too. That's $20+ million, I would think, and I'm guessing. I don't want to be on record for saying that it costs that much. I'm giving a guess, but would their efforts to do that require going for a bond? And if the answer to that question is yes, would that mean that it needs to be put on a ballot, say in November, to be voted on by the people? And if the answer to that is yes, how much of a difference is it going to matter what happens March 31st here at a city board meeting if to do anything to progress that particular proposal comes down to how the people vote on it? Because at the end of the day, the decision I would want to make on that type of proposal would come down to what all of the people of Hot Springs and Garland County said too. And if you need me to run back over those questions, I will. But I'm thinking out loud, and I'm thinking, I haven't heard either yes, they've got that kind of money laying around, or no, they haven't. But I'm just thinking, okay, if they don't, that means they've got to go secure a bond. And to secure a bond could potentially mean that they're going to need to require some assistance by the public, and that means all of Garland County. That means it could have to be voted on. And so if the results of that election are yes, we want that, that obviously has an impact on the decision that I would want to make here on this board. If the results of that type of election are no, then that's going to have an impact on my decision too.
Right.
So is March 31st a good time to bring that to the board, or would it not be at a later time to see how the people vote on it first?
I personally would like to keep March 31st. To answer your question, does it concern a bond? I'm not 100% sure on that. I've heard that it will, and it will require a vote. But as far as the decision that's made by this board, I think that that's a decision that the board will have to make. And you would have to take all that into consideration as to how you view our ranking and rate system. That's not going to determine how we rank and rate. We're going to base it on the things that's on that form. And it's up to this committee here, once we provide that to you, to determine if you like who we rank number 1 or number 2, or how you move forward with it. That will be your decision. That's not ours.
Okay. Good answer. I guess the next follow-up, I would say, would it be your indication that by having it March 31st, obviously if it's one of the 2 proposals, and would it be their intentions, if they do need a bond to secure for it and it has to be put on a ballot, do you feel like it's their intentions to get the board's either approval or disapproval before going to a ballot, so that that can be used either to advocate, or so that could be used to advocate for voter approval?
If it was me, I would.
That's all I've got.
Very good. Any additional questions for Mr. Smith? Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Schaup, please come forward, restate your name, address, and district, please.
Carol Schulp, and the address is 301 Stearns Point Road here in the city, and it's SCH. O as in Oscar, L as in Lima, P as in Peru, since everybody gets it wrong. Thank you for letting me speak. And actually, I'm a little confused because I didn't quite do enough research. But one of my concerns, recognizing that what you're looking for is a revenue producer here. My question is, how much money have we sunk into this so far for the city? Because I know we bought the plot of land, and how many consultants have we had? Does anybody have a number for that? Do we know what we've spent so far?
It's about 2.5. 2.5 in that
I
neighborhood.
thought that's what the cost of the property was.
That was, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
We had about 2.3 in bringing it down. And then we've had some ancillary expenses since then to upkeep the property, but it's in that 2.5 neighborhood.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I do want to also say, just, it's splitting hairs, but it wasn't taxpayer money. It was solid waste funds that we obligated to do that. That's an enterprise fund. It's not a tax. It's something that has to be paid back to that enterprise fund.
I remember the incident because we could not get the person to pay. I'm aware. One of the things, I know that we were talking about hotels. I don't know if that's still in the plan here. I looked it up. The occupancy rate is 36 to 48%. That's really low. Best one is 70%, and that's in the months of June, July, and August. So I don't think we need another hotel unless we're looking at a much, much greater occupancy rate. Recognizing, again, that we probably want a revenue-producing item because you want to recoup the $2.5 million. But on the other hand, the value of our public library is unmeasurable. What they offer and what they give to this community is the single greatest asset we have here. And so I am a person who would like to see us look at that proposal as well as the others. They offer a theater in theirs. They don't offer shops, but then we have a lot of shops downtown and many of them are empty, so I don't know how that benefits us either. At any rate, I'm very concerned that we take a look at what's the best use of that property for the future of Hot Springs, as Mr. Wilkins said. And I think that more shops, more hotels, we've got so many of them already. I just think the best use of that property would be something that absolutely accommodates all the people of this county. So thank you.
Any questions
Oh,
of
do you have
Ms.
questions?
Carroll? Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard Lee Kilby. Welcome. Restate your name and address, please. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here, sir. I'm Howard Lee Kilby, 315 Linwood, District 2. I'm reading a paper that was written by Brenda Brandenburg, and I'm sure you've all received a copy of this with your permission. I am writing as a lifetime resident of Hot Springs to ask you to vote against funding the Hot Springs Metro Partnership's representation, marketing of the former Majestic property. They have had over 3 years to try and sell the property to a private developer, but have not acquired any, or so they say. Additionally, they have not proposed an economically viable plan for its use. I believe that having exclusivity to the sale of this property is improper, to say the least. This impedes realtors from all over from being able to market and possibly sell the property to a prospective buyer through the MLS listings. It is not only unfair, but also has proven to be ineffective. I love Hot Springs and battled long and hard to try to save at least the facade of the Majestic, but to no avail. We must be very careful when approving a project in its former location, and it should pay homage to the historic hotel complex that once stood there. I have seen 2 very viable proposals that were allegedly passed over because of personality conflicts. This is quite unfortunate. No matter, the Metro Partnership's failure has not gone unnoticed. It is time to change course and sever the agreement for their exclusive representation of the property. Please do not fund HSMP going forward. Let's try a new strategy. I believe the time is now. Respectfully, Brenda Brandenburg, Hot Springs, 501-545-5780. Are there any questions?
Okay. Mr. Kilby, did you have any additional comments?
I agree entirely with her position.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Kilby?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last individual that has signed up, Mr. Todd Green, please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Directors. My name's Todd Green. I live at 110 Taylor Place here in Hot Springs. That's District 6. Glad to be there. First off, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. This is my first time to get to address the Board of Directors, so it's a big night for me. Also, it's truly been an honor to serve you all and to serve the community through the Majestic Site Committee. This will no doubt go down as one of the highlights of my career because of what I think we're going to all accomplish here. As you know, the Majestic Site Committee has worked diligently over many months. While we've encountered a few dead ends, we now find ourselves nearing the finish line with two very strong quality candidates. And as a committee, our goal is to provide you all with the clarity and information you need to make the best decision for Hot Springs, and I have every confidence that we'll be able to do that and that you will also. This is an exciting moment, as we've said. I believe we'll look back on this moment, on this time, as one of those turning points, a time when the water rose and lifted all ships in our community. I want to briefly restate the timeline and the requests that Vince and Brian have laid out for us. The first point on our request is, again, to establish that December 31st, 2025 date as the deadline for candidates to submit their completed written proposals. And then, again, to establish March 31st, 2026 as our committee's deadline. And what this will do is it's going to allow time for each candidate to make an in-person presentation to the committee and for the committee to ask clarifying questions, okay, with time for those candidates to thoughtfully answer those questions and provide any other clarity that may benefit your decision-making process. And by March 31, we will deliver a formal, rated, and ranked set of proposals for your full review and consideration. Both of the candidates that we've mentioned before and were named earlier are investing significant resources to prepare their proposals. I know they're busy at work, and we appreciate their commitment to the process. I want to thank you all again for your time and attention tonight. And I'll restate again, on behalf of the committee, I'd like to respectfully request your approval of this timeline. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Also, I hope that each of you saw the rate and ranking model that I emailed last week. And so if you had any questions about that specifically, I'd like to try to maybe answer those. But in closing, I'd just like to say that together we have a chance to shape a project that will literally stand as a landmark for generations to come, something that will reflect the very best of Hot Springs. And that does excite me. So try to answer your questions.
Any questions of Mr. Green? Director Dobbs Smith?
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why not everyone knows who you are and why you're on this committee? You said it was a highlight of your career. I mean, are you a yard man or do you know, what do you do?
Well, you know, there's not a whole lot that we leave behind but our character and our legacy. And I think this is the kind of thing that could really create a wonderful legacy for all of us in this room once we figure out what it is that's going to be there. Because I truly do think it's going to benefit generations to come. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I was born in Conway, but I moved here in middle school, which was 94. I graduated from Magnet Cove High School and went to Henderson as an undergrad. As a graduate student, I've got an undergrad degree in English and an MBA with an emphasis in finance. I taught accounting at Henderson while I was there. And all while going to school in Magnet Cove and at Henderson, I lived and worked here in this community. This is my home. I've lived here most of my life now. My wife is a lifelong Hot Springs, Lakeside student. She went to OBU in Henderson, and so she didn't go far either. Today we're raising our daughter, hopefully to be a lifelong Hot Springs member as well. I'm a banker by trade, and so I deal with money all day long. But money's not really what motivates me. I want to live a life that's not focused on myself, but a life that's focused beyond myself. And I see an opportunity here for us to do that. We really can make an impact. And so that's why it's a highlight for me.
And you don't have a financial interest in this, your bank is not financing, this is nothing that you're making money off of?
No, ma'am.
Because I've heard some of the people that have called me as though people are making, not you specifically, but that the committee, from what I understand, the committee is doing this. We have people from all walks of life. We have people who are could do other things with their spare time. And that's why I was asking why you were doing this. I mean, are you padding your resume? Or are you?
No, ma'am.
Are you making money for your bank? I mean, why are you doing this?
Thank you so much. I'm an MBA. I feel like I've done what I need to with my education. I've been an elder at my church for 10 years. I'm a bank president. I feel like I'm just not interested in padding my resume anymore. It's about
and
other people.
I didn't mean to pick on you personally.
Yeah, I know that. Yes,
I
ma'am.
know Brian was padding his resume. But this is the first time that you've spoken that I remember.
Yes, ma'am. I believe it is.
And I know many of the other committee members, and what it comes down to for me is that you will make a recommendation, and it seems you as part of that committee will make a recommendation, and this board will have the ultimate decision on it. If you recommend the library, we can still vote on that, and we will, not can, we will vote on whatever your recommendation is. If you offer up something else, and that's your recommendation, we will vote on that, correct? Is that
correct?
And tonight's vote, from my understanding, is for funding for the Metro Partnership for the next year, not for the Chamber of Commerce, and not making any kind of a decision on the Majestic property, correct? Is that
Correct. Correct.
Okay. I just want to get clear, because most of the calls I had seemed to be people supporting the library or supporting something else. So, thank you.
Director Trustee.
Thank you, Mayor. Todd, appreciate you coming and speaking tonight.
Yes, sir.
You're not nervous, are you?
No.
You gave a great presentation. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And thank you for your service on this committee. Heard it referred to tonight that the Majestic Committee is going to be selling the property. That's not the case. I mean, all you are going to do is make a recommendation to this board. This board will decide whether to sell the property, sell it to this person or this entity for this purpose, or another entity for another purpose.
Yes, sir.
That's all y'all are doing, and I know the people on that committee. I know you don't. I don't think you have a real estate agent on that committee.
No.
But you have access to real estate agents who serve on the Hot Springs Metro Partnership, and so
Yes,
if
sir.
there are questions about the property, the listing, the conditions of a sale, drafting a contract, you have resources that you can access. But that's not going to be your role anyway. Your role is to rate and rank those proposals and bring that back to us. Now, as you also mentioned, and as I lived for 35 years in banking, financing is going to be a big part of whatever proposal we see. I mean, we can't bet on what might happen. We're going to have, in my opinion, we're going to have something in hand. Otherwise, as Director Webb mentioned, we might not be
starting this proposal until a year from now. So if we don't have some sort of financing in place with this proposals, or these proposals, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what we will do, but I don't see us waiting another year to get something on this property. We had, well, let me back up. This board agreed I think in 22, wasn't it, Gary, that the Metro Partnership would form this committee and provide us, yes, and provide some assistance to us. So we've had 3 years to do this. We've had not any formal proposals, but we had the property since 17. We got the property in 17, I think. So we had it 5 years. We had some proposals, and none of those were viable. I mean, they didn't have financing lined up. The uses of the properties that we saw when we went out for proposals was not keeping with the vision that the community had for this property when we had all those public hearings. So I just want you to know I appreciate what you're doing. And I think it's very reasonable to establish a 12/31/25 deadline for the proposals, and then a March 31/26 deadline to have those proposals rated and ranked and back to this board so we can make a decision. So thank you.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. And I don't know if it would be you or one of the other speakers that would be able to answer this, but there have been a lot of comments made asking that the vetting of the Majestic site proposals be removed from this agreement. And I know that the committee has already done a lot of work. We've got 2 groups that you're speaking with. If an amendment were to be made and that were to be removed from the 2026 contract, would the Metro Partnership still be willing to continue on the process that you guys already have? The agreement we have in place now is good until the end of the year anyhow, which is the initial deadline that you all have requested for proposals. But would you be willing to say that you would still follow through with finishing the process that you've started, regardless of whether or not the Majestic is part of the 2026 contract?
Yes, ma'am. I think I can say with all confidence we would definitely follow through with our timeline that we've already agreed to. Whatever the board decides is best for the community we want what's best for the community as well. Personally, I do feel like we were so very close, but again, we would definitely finish our job.
All right, thank you.
Any additional questions of Mr. Green? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify again, because I heard it again, that the vetting is going to be removed, and I haven't ever said that. I do not want your vetting opportunities to be removed. So I'm going to say that again.
Okay.
I do not want your vetting opportunities to be removed. I want this city board to give you assistance and be another vetting option for developers. In no way, shape, or form am I going to make a motion to amend your contract to remove your vetting. I simply want to add us to the table to be a vetting option for developers. Are you supportive of that, Mr. Green?
I am supportive of anything that benefits the community. So the more proposals we get, in my opinion, the better, right? My goal, as we've said, is not to make the decision for the community. It's to provide crystal clear clarity. I want, y'all have day jobs, and you all have so many other things. I was amazed by some of the budget conversations that have been had tonight. Y'all have so many other things that you have to deal with. And so if we can improve, make you more efficient, or help you to be more efficient with your time and resources.
Run off, Mr. Gary.
That would be ideal. The interesting thing, though, being a banker, and before getting, I've been in banking 15 years, and before getting into banking, I cut my teeth as a credit manager with Karen at Weyerhaeuser. And so I tend to ask questions sometimes that maybe some people do not. And so if we've had this process in place for 3 years, and we're this close now. We have, you know, a stated timeline for when we need the proposals. And someone they've had all that time to get prepared and go through that process. I would be curious as to why now they would choose not to. That, to me, as a banker, that would potentially raise a red flag, but again, that's the only thing that that comes to my mind.
Now, I don't think I understood what you said. You said, I don't think I would understand, and then what else?
Well, I think I would maybe.
Is what you're trying to say, if an amendment is made by this board to allow the city board of directors to also be a vetting option, that we allow you to, because I think by the contract that was approved by us last year, is that, you know, the contract as it looks today was approved through December 31st of this year, correct? So if we were to make that amendment tonight, would it oversee that part? I mean, and even if we were to make the amendment that I'm describing, it isn't going to have an impact on the 12/31 of this year timeline. It shouldn't have any impact at all. It just brings us there. It doesn't take any of the steps away that you have. It just brings us right up there with you.
And my words may have probably came out broken. Again, the more proposals and candidates and possibilities we have, the better it is to choose from. I just hope that you all have I want you all to have a crystal clear view of what it is that's being proposed. And y'all have seen the model, and we've already talked about financing. The 4 different categories, they're ranked evenly, and financing is worth 25%. And so,
and I think Director Trusty had a good point earlier, you know, when he said city staff did have it for a few years and nothing's there. At least that part of what you were saying I follow stands to be true. And then in your case, almost 3 years now, haven't quite got there, but do have 2 proposals coming up in December. So if we work together, if we join forces and there's 2 vetting options, how does that not help benefit the city? How does that not benefit downtown? How does that not benefit seeing something mature at the Majestic? Because I think the football analogy came up at the previous meeting too. You know, we're right at the goal line, and you know, hey, if we get up to the goal line and it's the people's choice that those 2 proposals, one of those is something that the people want to see, then so be it. But we all watched Arkansas and LSU last week, and they got to the goal line. And not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times they couldn't quite get across there. And so if by chance what we see turns out to be that way, then by us making this move tonight and supporting the amendment to have 2 vetting forces, then it's 2 of us working together. That does increase the opportunity for additional proposals coming through as well. And at the end of the day, how does that not benefit us? But I'll stop there.
All right. Yep. Any additional questions of Mr. Green? Thank you.
Thank y'all for your time.
Discussion amongst directors. Director Holliday.
Thank you. One, I didn't know if there was, I know you usually ask the audience to make sure there isn't anyone else. I have a few questions that I'm not sure who it would land with. I wanted to wait to hear all of the presentations, but if there isn't anyone else, I think the questions I have may be for Gary, ultimately.
Gary, why don't you come forward? Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, so one thing I actually had a constituent bring up to me yesterday, and this is something a little bit moving forward. I appreciate that we're having more, you guys come and present every other month instead of quarterly. I think that's been really helpful. But one of the things they pointed out was the reports are very narrative based, but there are some things in this agreement that are very quantifiable, like the 2 site consultants consultants or the 75 visits, if there's a way that those kinds of things could just be put in a spreadsheet that just sort of tallies and we see the same thing. Some of this information that we got tonight on paper is the first time it's all been in one place. And so it's kind of like the conversation earlier with Majestic, just having things real basic as far as numbers, I think, could be really good. One of the things I did want to ask, kind of back to the Majestic piece, you know, what we have in here is asking that the Metro Partnership specifically market that site and then obviously have this exclusivity with vetting. However, my questions are about how it's actually been marketed. We've had these conversations before, and I apologize I didn't dig any deeper, but I spent a lot of time on the Metro's website, also on Arkansas Site Select, which is specifically called out in the agreement. And the Majestic site isn't on there, even though there are 10 sites nearby. So if we're not using the tools, these really basic tools, what is it that we're doing, and why is it not on the Arkansas Site Select or the Metro Partnership's website?
It has to be 10 acres to be on site selection. It's mainly for industrial development purposes.
Well, there is a strip mall on Grand on it. Does it have 10 acres with it?
Well, that's an improved property, structure.
Okay. Well, and I was wondering, because the Site Select, I figured, might have some restrictions around it. However, I would imagine the Metro Partnership's website does not have those requirements, since you all manage that internally. So, so I actually had a lot of questions around the Metro's website, because that is something that should be directly coming out of the $100,000 that we come in your budget. You know, not only was the Majestic site not on there, the page about utilities doesn't highlight the expansion of our water at all. There's not any information there. There was something specific in the agreement, not sure why it's there, quite frankly, but talking about having a retail page and that retail page directly links to City HS. I don't really honestly see the correlation, but regardless, it's in there. Also, Levi Hospital is still all over the site. So as far as from a marketing standpoint and a communication standpoint from the Metro, I feel like that's kind of low-hanging fruit, since it's done internally and it's not current or accurate or extensive. And so if you have any thoughts about that.
You know, all great points. You know, it's not an answer for you, but I mean, we are in the process. We've switched marketing and communications persons. Certainly that needs to be a priority for her going forward. But, you know, we have required, or we have had the signage for that, you know, the belief that someone that would be interested in the property would actually want to see the property and drive by it, and as you know, can walk it if they would like. So we've really, early on, I think Scott Dews had told you, we had reached out to a dozen different folks, and we thought we would get some interest there. That didn't happen. So, you know, I don't really have a great answer for you why we haven't been more aggressive on the website. But, you know, we've got a realtor, our chairman next year, Carol Bales, chairperson. You know, we're just under the belief you need to see it, breathe it, experience it. And that entails seeing where it is in relation to downtown to Central Avenue, seeing how the acreage lays out, seeing what it's adjacent to. And so we've gone that direction.
Well, and I absolutely agree with that part, but I'm just thinking as somebody, especially as, you know, when you all travel and someone just goes back to their hotel room or home and checks out the website and it's just not there. So that was kind of where that was coming from. But also in the agreement, you know, we call out the Majestic site. However, there's a lot of property in the city, and so I would like to think that the Metro Partnership would be equally as enthusiastic to market any other property or to have any of that on the website. So I don't know if that's a matter of adding a page to it or what, or if we would even need an amendment, but just so there's a little more interest and effort in looking at all of the property as it becomes available throughout our community. We've talked a lot about Jones Mill, which is nearby and very important, and we've talked about the Majestic, but again, there's a lot of other things in town. The other thing, some of my questions were answered earlier, and that's been great, but I did have some questions about financial health, and I apologize, you didn't walk up with any budgets. And I know that nobody likes to be caught off guard, but I think you may be able to explain a little bit. I did go through the last few years' audit reports and the 1990 that I could find online. And, you know, I see that in 2022, it was pretty flat with revenues and expenses. And 2023 was this massive year. You guys have reported revenues either at $965,000 or 1.04 million, and then the expenses are $647,000 and $724 respectively. So it was a super healthy year in 23. However, the 2024 audit shows revenues only of $380,000 and expenses of $704. So I'm curious as to what was so wonderful about 23, and then what happened in 24, because like with any partnership or even giving a grant or whatever, you know, financial health is important, and that is a massive shift between those years.
Okay, well, as you stated, I don't have financials in front of me, but to the best of my knowledge, and it is to the best of my knowledge, we were advised by our accountant, we have a capital campaign every 3 years. You know, we're very transparent about that. We rely on you guys, City of Hot Springs, our partnership with you all, Garland County, private investment, and as you know, we own the Passport Center. So there's our streams of revenue. But Cheryl's not with us tonight, our CFO, but Director Holliday, the best of my knowledge, we had, in 2023 was a capital campaign year. So we get those agreements, 3-year agreements. We're year to year with you all in the county. And we currently have a 13-year agreement with the Passport Center. But I believe if Cheryl were here, she would tell you we're instructed by our accounting firm to count all that revenue as if it were already received, and then that's what the big drop off, because it was if everyone's pledges for 2023, 24, and 25 were at one point. Now, I'm not 100%, but that strikes me as, because I know that we've been told by our accounting firm that we needed to do that differently. Again, as you pointed out, been audited, you know, pretty bulletproof on that. But to the best of my knowledge, that is the reason to answer your question.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I figured there had to be a very concrete reason, because the jump was just so dramatic. So I appreciate that. That is all of my direct questions. I think everything else is probably discussion.
Well, I'm going to look back. Cole, okay.
Okay.
I wish Cheryl were here, but she's not, but I believe that would be her answer if she were.
And I apologize, I could have sent it in an email if I had done this homework sooner than I did. I will own that. But I do appreciate you being able to answer.
No apology necessary. We're here to answer your questions.
So yeah, otherwise I think it's more discussion for me, unless anyone else has questions for Gary.
Okay. Director Garcia?
Thank you. Just to piggyback on what the director just was talking about, the other properties, and if language was included that also included the other properties, to the effect that the Metro Partnership would work to secure the suitable buyers or developers for all available properties. Not just the Majestic, because that's going to be a done deal here soon, right?
You know,
but any other properties as part of the agreement.
Yeah, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but city manager and the mayor, you know, have attended our board meetings. We have been very transparent from day one. I mean, and Director Holliday, apologies on the water, but you know, we've been a champion on that from day one. We want to see growth. I mean, and selfishly, I'm an individual. At the end of the day, I grew up here. I want to see explosive growth. I want to see us have growth like Saline County, like Jonesboro.
maybe like West Little Rock has had Benton Bryant. And so we would be open to everything. Now, I will say, we have a committee, and again, our chairperson, Carol Bells is here. We've reached out to realtors. We want to do everything we can. When the water comes, we want to jump on that opportunity. You all have worked hard to make that happen. We're not going to be content to let that happen by happenstance. We would like to have a plan. We would like to aggressively recruit people to come here. And Director Garcia, since we're getting a little philosophical, I think, after COVID, I think a lot of people have looked at Hot Springs. I think we've experienced a little bit accelerated growth. These gentlemen would vouch for me. It's not exactly what you want to hear, but our county judge talks about all the address requests that he's had for new development and new things going on. I think we're on the cusp, and I hate to say that. I don't want to, blue sky this thing, but if not, what does our city manager work 14 years for? I mean, we're just right there, but I don't want to grow at the rate we've been growing. I want to see the next 5 years. I want to see, and really, if we're being realistic, we're going to grow 5, but I think it's 10 and 15. You'll really see more growth. Unfortunately, I'll probably be retired by that time, but I hope Hot Springs and Garland County will be a lot bigger in 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Before we get into discussion amongst directors, there was one aspect of the Metro Partnership and one person who hasn't been up here to speak, and I want to make sure that he's aware and the Metro's aware that I praise you for this one particular, or for a multitude of actions that you do on behalf of our city, but more specifically, workforce. And I know Mr. Gary Jackson is still here, and I want to just take a few minutes and just recognize you for the work that you do for workforce in conjunction with the multitude of other Metroship partners. I know the other Gary is alongside you for a lot of those events. And Cole, are you ever bouncing around at the high schools too?
Occasionally.
Okay, but I appreciate y'all doing that for the city, and that in itself is a huge plus of having this particular contract. There's 7 public school districts here in Garland County, and you take time to visit all 7 of those school districts. You're working with National Park College. That in itself is creating a pipeline for our youth, for all of these school districts, not just for trade, but also for the college avenue, if they so choose, and then also to help initiate any immediate start for local jobs and careers. You also host what's known as Draft Day out at Lake Hamilton, and I want to say on last check that there were over 50 plus businesses, 61 businesses. And how many high schools besides Lake Hamilton are offered that chance to go there?
18 this year, 20 last year. We had 2 of the home schools didn't come this last year, but we had 18 separate high schools from Malvern to Neenah.
Lots of interactions with 18 high schools last year or this year. The meetings, the events at not just the high school, but it's my understanding that you take time to visit junior high too, right? I mean, you're going and visiting with 8th and 9th graders to start helping those students to put into perspective what life will be like in 4 to 5 years. Yeah. Yes, sir. But I want to make sure and voice that with all of you that are here and the public that's listening, because I'm paying attention to your efforts in that area, as I think we all are up here, and I think the city is seeing you do some good things in that area.
This is Gary Jackson. Not sure what your title is with Metro, but you're all into workforce.
Yes, that would be it. It's not a me thing. I want to state that right now. It's not a me thing. I work with a team, and Mr. Troutman and Mr. McCaskill have both been in the schools. We've been vaccinated, baptized, and dipped from the 7th grade all the way up. We're in the 7 current county school districts that we have in Garland County. We spoke with Mr. Keith Smith, and he talked to us about his workforce coming from outside our county. So we've inquired 5 additional school districts that are surrounding us that we're talking to right now. And so it's not one person. It's not. Every presentation that we give, either Cole or Gary or all 3 of us are there together. And so it is a team concept. It's not about what I do, not at all. And I wanted to make that perfectly clear, because when you're the CEO of a company and you step in, there's a lot of hats that you wear, all right? I try to talk to him from one meeting room to the next meeting room. And I shoot on our calendar when we're going somewhere, and he makes point. He was in Little Rock today, and we talked to a group of CPAs out by the YMCA, the hotel right next to it. I don't know what that is. There was about 20 out there. And him and Cole slid in the parking lot sideways, but he was there. It was important to him. Yes, we talked to 7th grade to 12th grade. And our purpose is this. I'm a Hot Springs guy. I've lived in the Delta the last 16 years. If you've not experienced the Delta, I try to explain it like this. I tell my buddies that are still in there, we flush better water than you drink. It's an honor and a privilege to live in Hot Springs and what you guys do. But what we do is we're trying to give our local companies the first opportunity. You mentioned draft day. We're trying to give our businesses in Hot Springs and Garland County the first opportunity to see the best that we have to keep our kids here, to be taxpayers here. We want you to live here, we want you to buy here, and we want you to die here. That's what we're talking about. And those opportunities are available. We've been in our industries. It's impossible to take 7,000 kids to Alliance Rubber. We could, but we'd take up the whole building and the liability issues. So the videos that we shoot from our HR department and marketing group that we have, going and showing these kids these opportunities, that's what we're trying to do. But I wanted to emphasize, it's not one person. It's not one person, but I do appreciate your recognition of our team for doing that. Thank you.
Let's have discussion amongst directors. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. The question before us as a board tonight is the contract for 2026 with the Metro Partnership. And after a lot of review and input, earlier tonight it was said there is a big focus on manufacturing jobs because they offer higher wages on the most part. And earlier this year, we had the Safe Streets conference here, and our highway commissioners were in attendance, and we got to have the opportunity to visit with them one-on-one. And what everyone in attendance, which were elected officials from other parts of the state as well, note was taken about how much money the cities put into our infrastructure. There's been much comments about the water. We've spent millions of dollars, and we are going to have a commodity that many cities and communities across the country are envious of and do not have. So I believe that that is a big selling point for business growth and a potential for additional manufacturing jobs. And I would like to offer an amendment to Section 3, number M, that partnership staff will host a minimum of 3 site consultants in Hot Springs annually, and strike the other words, because from input from other businesses as well as other leaders and residents in the community, and we work hand in hand with Garland County. I think we're all looking at the same growth direction with all organizations, that if they get here, instead of seeing on paper a city of 36,000, and they see what everyone sees as us being on the cusp of, they will want to come back and they want to look for opportunity in Hot Springs.
Second.
Okay, so procedurally, because we'll probably have maybe a few more
You may, yeah, you may, it sounds like you may have a couple more coming. So you want to deal with this one first?
That's fine. If that's, so we have a motion and a second to amend paragraph 3, subparagraph M. That, and would you restate it? Partnership will
Host a
host-
minimum
Okay.
of 3 site consultants in Hot Springs annually.
Okay. Very good. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith,
Aye.
Webb,
Point of clarification, Mayor, this is just to vote on this amendment, correct? Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. The amendment is approved. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I want to get to another amendment. So I want to turn our attention to Section 5 of Additional Services, letter M. The wording as M starts, the city owns real property throughout the corporate limits that possess economic opportunities if properly developed. One particular location is that of the former Majestic Hotel. Hot Springs Metro Partnership shall endeavor to secure a suitable buyer of this property for development. Offers to purchase the site shall be forwarded to the City Board of Directors as received. Any and all offers received by the city from prospective buyers through December 31st of 2026 shall be forwarded to Hot Springs Metro Partnership to be vetted. I want to change that verbiage. I want to change that verbiage to any and all offers received by the city from prospective buyers through December 31st, 2026 shall be either shall remain or shall be forwarded to the Hot Springs Metro Partnership or remain with city staff to be vetted to start March 31st, 2026.
So that would only occur on or after March 31st, 2026?
Correct.
Who would decide which ones go to be vetted and which ones don't?
That's developer's choice. I'm giving that March 31st timeline of 2026
Yeah,
because
I got that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that you're saying that offers received after that would be either held by the city and vetted or sent to Metro Partnership for vetting. And I'm just trying to figure out who decides.
that disclosure is given to the developers up front. They can either share their proposal with the Majestic vetting committee or they can share their proposal with city staff vetting committee.
Who in the city staff's going to do a rank scoring and rank process?
The board of directors will.
The board, we have the talent here to do that?
The board of directors and city staff.
So you think the city staff has that?
Yes.
You would have to vet them in a public meeting.
This is true. Why do we have to vet at a public meeting?
If the board is going to be doing the vetting, you're together.
What about city staff?
That would be fine.
That's city manager. Would that have to be in a public meeting?
No, sir.
Then city manager.
I have a question.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. Thinking back to when we had the offer that ultimately was about the amphitheater, my understanding was once an offer was made to the city manager, you're required to immediately bring it to us, correct? And that there was, I just remember there was, it sort of stopped all the other conversations. So I want to be clear. I understand your point and absolutely get it, but I want to make sure procedurally that it's possible and doesn't cause an unintended consequence from
Right.
a procedural standpoint.
I mean, I think if the protocol that is set by the board for this particular marketing effort is to say that you want it to come to you after it's been vetted, that's okay. Otherwise, I mean, somebody makes an offer, Bill receives an offer on his desk, yeah, he's got to bring it to you for your approval because no one else can. Unless it's under $60,000.
That's the right verbiage, I think, is to come back to the board after being vetted.
Well, that's the way it is now, but it's coming through the Hot Springs Metro Partnership. They make a recommendation. We're the only body that can approve any project.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to a point where we can narrow this down and maybe gets a second. What if the city manager were part of that committee?
Part of what committee?
The vetting committee at Metro Partnership.
That's probably good. That's probably good.
City manager or his
designee.
representative. Yeah.
Designate.
That would work better, I think.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Well, and I think one thing, the language here talks about prospective buyers. We still don't really have a prospective buyer. I mean, so this language isn't even at the heart of the processes that we're in at the moment.
Right.
So it's a little hard to.
I mean, even in this agreement, I mean, they're tasked with the same thing I was during that time, and that's if there is a offer to purchase that property, they're obligated to bring it to you immediately.
As received.
As received.
And then any ones that you receive, whether it's from Metro Partnership or some other source, because it never was intended to be exclusive. Anybody can bring a proposal, and that's why when we received a proposal for the amphitheater, it came to you. So, but once it's received, then it goes to Metro Partnership for vetting. If you're more comfortable with city staff being involved in that, and I see where you're coming from, then maybe part of this deal is that the city manager needs to sit on that committee as a standing member. Until the objective is obtained.
I'm just thinking, how does that help would that be helpful in this transparency effort? And would this be another opportunity for developers to bring proposals in? If he's on that same committee,
Yeah.
it's almost as if
I think
it isn't another door being opened, it
Sure.
just means we're just gonna add another person to it.
I think
How
what
does that get my point?
I think what's different about what, at least over the past 8 years, that I've been listening to the board on this issue, is we want to sell the property, but we want to control how it's done. We want to control the development. Typically, when property is sold, it's cash deal. Here's this is what I'm asking. Here's your asking price. See you at the title company. That's not what we're doing here. We're wanting to have some control over what is going on here. It's kind of like when a rezone request comes to you. Yes, you're entitled to know what's on the list of possible uses, but they don't have to tell you exactly how they're going to use it. It's going to be rezoned.
Well, tell me this, B. Prior to 22, when city staff was doing the vetting, what did that look like? Were those conversations that were being had between city staff and developers, was that happening out here in front of everybody, or was that in closed-door settings?
No.
What did that look like?
They were.
When was anything?
They were private
prior to
vetting.
22 ever delivered to the board?
Well, when we got an offer to purchase.
Okay, but that happens after the vetting, correct?
Well, in this instance, they knew what they wanted and they brought it to you with an offer. The difference is, all this other stuff is preliminary. We haven't received an offer to purchase from anybody. If that were true, we would have to have the paperwork in front of you now. They're still working on the background. So that's part of the issue here is the board's desire, and I think rightfully so. This is iconic property. This is legacy property. This is, the heart of downtown, and you want to know what's going to happen there. Uh,
I want to make sure, in my opinion, or for me, I want to make sure that when constituents and residents out in Hot Springs have a question at all related to the happenings at the Majestic site for development, that I've got a way to get an answer.
Sure.
That isn't going to create any disparity in developers, but that's going to give insight for the constituents and residents.
Well-
And I think by having this other vetting option with city staff involved, it's going to allow that to be an opportunity.
I will say this.
The people's option is what matters most to me.
If city staff is involved in the vetting process, documentation provided to such city staff is not bound by NDA. FOIA trumps NDA.
Well,
So-
that disclaimer can be provided to developers. And I would presume that anybody who's approaching this development is going to obtain those type of details well beforehand.
I would hope so.
There's two different vetting options. Over here is the Metro, over here is city staff. You need to know that prior to coming to city staff to be vetted, there is that potential that there could be for you. That's
they
what
give
you're
me a
saying,
document.
correct?
Right.
If I have a document.
Yes, if you have a document.
Yeah.
I don't see why that couldn't be in a disclaimer.
They don't get to attend the meeting, but if there's an email, if there's a proposal, if there's a rendering or whatever that hits his hands or his screen, they're open.
So, I want two doors, not somebody joining the current one. I want two doors of opportunity. I know you can probably make it sound better than me.
Well,
with legal verbiage,
I'll
but
just tell you that, prior to 22, Bill's a smart guy, savvy. I'm an okay lawyer, but I'm not high finance, all right? And Lance is smart, talk to you about anything, and, he knows what's going on all the time. Three of us sitting in a room, talking over proposals, it's not really what we do every day. We try to assist you in governing. We don't do that stuff. The idea that was pitched in 22 was to have people in the community who are in real estate, who are in finance, who are in development, to help us do that. If you're comfortable, if the board is comfortable with going forward with that, with the proviso that after March 31st, city manager is going to be a standing member on that committee, and anybody that proposes something knows that what they propose, if they propose it in a way that makes it open, it's going to be open. And we can move forward with that. Hopefully they're going to bring us a deal that everybody's going to love, and we won't have to get there. But
I respect what you just said, B, but at the same time, in development, in that perspective, Bill happens to be a part of a lot of major developments across our city, the water project being probably the highest. And
Oh,
it's
no
a lot
doubt.
more major project than what we could ever imagine happening at the Majestic site. And I would say he did a pretty fine job with that. And I'm sure you had some input. Probably so did Lance.
I'm telling you that Bill is smart and savvy.
I think he could handle the Majestic.
But when we have meetings on those projects, there are like 12 people in the room for those projects.
What's stopping there from being 12 in this case?
Well, there wouldn't be. It's just going to be open.
Well, I think some, if I can speak, Mayor, these major projects like this, and I said this at a meeting last night, what we have right now is an idea and a concept. We don't have an offer. We don't have a plan. We don't have a project. They're doing due diligence, trying to put this thing together that they can bring it to you. And those things, a lot of those things, they're not going to happen until they have the ability to do their due diligence, work through some of those things without it being cannonballed from one group or another before it ever gets there. So I understand why those things are happening and why they happen. I don't want to say in secret, but under an NDA, because they've got to try to put that thing together to where it's rock solid that they can bring you something that you can ultimately vet and approve. Because even when they vet it and bring it to you, or if somebody else came in off the street and brought you a project, your vetting is essentially approving that project. You're not really vetting it, you're voting it up or down whenever you see it. So I get the NDA issues and some of these projects trying to put them together. We've talked about the library. Library, I can answer it for you. I've met with Adam. It will require a bond. It will require going to the people for a vote. He doesn't have the money to build what he has in this concept, in this idea that he shows. What he hoped for was to get it in front of you and kind of get your idea about it so he could get it on the March ballot. That's going to pass here in a few weeks. He's probably not going to be able to get there for the March ballot. And so the next one's November. We can only do it twice a year now. I also made conversations that maybe that's not the site that it needs to be on. And I think there's room for a dialogue and a discussion with the School for Math and Science. We hear, why is the city going to spend over $4 million to bring down the building and then give it away? I hear that a lot. You probably do too. I can tell you there was a time where School for Math and Science had a film institute and a performing arts center that they had in their master plan.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that may have changed, but you look at Adams' project, it's got a library and a performing arts. I don't know that it needs to go on the ASMSA property when we bring that building down, but I do think it is a marriage that needs to at least be talked about. What better place for a library than in front of a school? And if you've got two large groups like that want a performing arts center because of their arts at the school, it's a good marriage. And it's something that I think there needs to be a transparent conversation between the school, the library, and the city to see if maybe that works on that side, and that frees up the Majestic for other things. Adam could have some direction still and be able to try to get something on the ballot. I haven't talked to Corey. I know Lance had sent Corey an email, and he's not adamantly opposed to it. It's not part of their current master plan. It has changed, but he agrees that there should be some type of transparent conversation between the three entities to see if something like that could work. Just want to throw that out there because that's just another piece of this whole project and part. But I get the issues that these guys are under. I sit on the Metro Partnership Board along with the mayor, and we hear some of those things. We're also part of the not the executive committee. Don't know how you get on that yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. Been trying to do that for about 15 years. But we are part of the investor group that meet on a quarterly basis. We do hear some of these things. I've had some of the people that are working on the project that have spoke to me. I don't have anything to show the board, but I can tell you that the project that they're working on is huge, and it's going to take a lot of time to put that together. And I think that's why we're kind of stuck where we're at now, because they're at that final stage of putting the pieces together to bring you something. I don't know how that affects this contract here. If I'm on that board or on that committee, if it still exists after March 31, so be it. But there's a lot of moving parts, and I think if you don't have NDAs and some of these things that they work on, those companies aren't going to come here. They're not going to show their cards up front. It's just not going to happen. That's not the way it works.
I will say that in the area of a development that requires public financing, whether it's library or anything else, I from a practical standpoint, you're almost going to have to. We got a lot of bankers and a lot of realtors in the room right now. There used to be a time where you'd make an offer contingent on financing. Now they just laugh at you. So it's going to be a situation like that, because we can't ask the voters to vote on an issue, to have a bond issue, to have whatever it's going to be, ad valorem or whatever, to have a bond on property that they don't have an interest in yet. So if it is something like a public entity that requires that type of financing, you're going to find yourself in that scenario.
Any other comments? Director Holliday, you kind of look like you're teeing up here.
I don't think I've ever actually teed up. But as far as this is concerned, I didn't know if this might sort of get to where you're going. I agree with the desire to be more transparent, but I also know that we don't want to lose the opportunity to speak to somebody because they're afraid that information will go public before they're ready. Because we have been asked to give the Metro Partnership through March 31st, I think this particular component should just expire at March 31st. And then after that, because ideally, something will be here, and that's what we're moving forward on. That's what we all hope is sooner than later. There's going to be a project we can move forward on. However, I think that it allows us at that point, if neither of those projects or nothing comes forward that we're going to move on, then at that time we kind of go back to what it's always been, and that that vetting can be taken out. I don't know if that is a solution for where you're going, perhaps. But, you know, having this go through December 31st, but we've got March 31st that we've been asked to respect, you know, we can just have line M have a March 31st date as opposed to a December 31st date.
I think if you did that doesn't, you know, close the door on the possibility of reviving it afterwards, if that's what the board wants to do at that point, and if Metro Partnership is still willing to.
I think that's a good compromise. It allows us to revisit where we're at and move in a different direction if we want to, or extend the relationship.
But it lets them finish the process that is now happening. You know, we all finish what we started with this conversation.
Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I'm listening to everybody. I think if we were to reword my amendment so that, and B, if you want us to sit down and get the words right here in a minute, let's do that. But I think the amendment that I want to suggest, I first want to retract the initial amendment that I had, or the initial motion that I had for an amendment. And I want to have this section 5 of additional services M, read so that after March 31st, the city and Metro Partnership will be the vetting functions for the Majestic property.
Well, why don't we just put March 31st, 2026, and then it concludes, and then
What's wrong with going ahead and putting the city on there, Mayor, as a vetting option?
So I think, let's be clear, I think that what Director and Mayor are talking about is they aren't the vetter after March 31st.
Metro Partnership is not.
Yeah, that component, my thought was that component would expire, but that also gives us, you know, we'll be having a pretty robust conversation with the Majestic Committee and Metro Partnership at that time, and that would also give us a little bit more information on whether or not this process was even remotely successful in the end and should be continued for other options if the options were not successful. Or we go back to what we had prior to 22, which had its own pros and cons. I will say the largest con is that everything that lands on Bill's desk has to come here, and then we are all in a conversation for 6 to 18 months about something that may or may not make any sense at all because we have to honor that process. And so I will say there's something kind of nice about having a third party that can parse through that and then bring it to us if it's viable. Not to say the other two weren't somewhat viable, but it was a lot of time that we spent having conversations, and ultimately those conversations could have taken place elsewhere and then come to us when they had kind of all their ducks in a row.
Director Garcia?
May I ask a question for clarity? Is it my understanding that of the current interest are being required to have their proposals in to the Metro Partnership vetting team by December 31st?
December 31st of 25.
25. And then it takes them 3 months to do the vetting
Correct.
before they...
Up to.
Up to.
But it could be before then.
Yes.
Before, if And then at that point, they make a recommendation to the board.
Yes,
That's what we're talking about.
yes.
And if they made the recommendation for one over the other, or both, or a combination thereof, but if it's only one, does the board have the ability to say, well, we want to hear both?
Yes.
We're not bound by any decision
Okay.
or any
It's just
recommendation they make.
They go through all the vetting, we'll have all that documentation, then the recommendation. Thank you.
And then, you know, at March 31st, you're going to find yourself in one of a few scenarios. You've got a deal that you want to vote for and support it, and that's what we do, or you don't. And then you have to decide who's going to do the vetting going forward. Is it just going to be the city? Is it just going to be Metro? Is it going to be Metro?
March 31st is
Right,
what you're saying.
right.
And that's kind of the timeline that we're trying to respect here, right?
Exactly.
December 31st, all the proposals are in, then the window opens for rank and vetting. By March 31st, it's all done, and we either have something or we don't. If we don't, we're coming back to the table to determine, is it the city staff who should be vetting? Is it still Metro? Is it, what are we gonna do? Okay. I make that motion.
Well, the motion then is just to change the date in 5M from December 31, 2026 to March 31st, 2026.
Yes.
Well, what it will say is essentially what the language is in the current contract.
It's just gonna replace December 31st with March 31st.
No, sir. And it's going to replace 2026 with 2025. Anything that they receive through December 31, 2025 shall be forwarded to Metro for vetting, which shall conclude on or before March 31st, 2026, period.
Got you. And so that essentially means the vetting that's going on between January 1 and March 31st is as a result as of what was received December 31st. And then after March 31st, then nobody's a vetter. We come back to the board and figure out what our next steps are, whether something's there or nothing's there.
Yes.
Correct?
And so if you can say ditto on that motion
Ditto.
and we get a second.
Ditto.
Second over here, Director Holliday.
Mayor, before you have further discussion on the motion and the second or call for a vote, perhaps we should ask Metro Partnership if that would be agreeable. I don't want the board to pass something here tonight that they won't sign. Is that agreeable?
They are in the affirmative. Call the roll.
Director Webb?
Aye.
Garcia?
Aye.
Trustee?
Aye.
Holliday?
Aye.
Dobbs Smith?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
Aye. Resolution's adopted.
Mayor, you have two amendments that have been
I'm sorry.
approved so far.
Yeah, we
You've
had two
got-
amendments. The first one was so long ago, I can't remember.
That was paragraph 3M. That's paragraph 3M requiring that there be 3 consultants in town
Very good.
per year. And the other amendment has been to paragraph 5M regarding the submissions and vetting periods.
All right.
Are there any others?
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. There is one more amendment to make, and it is in regards to the 12,500. As it stands right now, the 12,500 is designated as a line item for business and residential recruitment programs. I'm not sure that it's going in that direction as it's being spent now, and I just want to make sure that what we intend to be spent for whatever reason, if we're going to give it to the Metro Partnership, I just want the line item to state what its intentions are. So I would like to amend this so that the 12,500 be canceled for now and come back to the board with more specific line item description. Does that make sense? What specifically is the 12,500 being spent for? And let's get it reworded in this contract.
Can I have a question?
Director Garcia?
A question. So, are you asking for the last sentence in section 5 in to be stricken until a further date?
Yes, ma'am. It's,
5L.
well,
L.
no, this is page 47, yeah, of 60 on the resolution. I
Oh,
think.
47.
I was on page 53 still.
Oh,
No,
Page
it's 5L.
5L. 5L.
On the agreement itself.
Bottom of page 52 of your packet.
yes.
The actual number of 12,500's in on page 53.
Oh, because y'all went to a link or something? Mine's,
It starts on 52 and goes into 53.
oh, I'm in the link. Gotcha. Page 5 of the agreement.
Yes.
5L.
Page 5L.
I'll second, and we can have discussion.
So the motion is to delete that paragraph.
Delete the sentence
That last sentence.
as additional consideration,
And
delete the sum. of that sentence that has 12,500 in.
And bring back to the board with a more specific line item explanation.
Okay, Director Garcia seconded, so we can have discussion amongst directors. Discussion amongst directors. Director Holliday?
Thank you. I would say instead of it coming back to put it back into this agreement, my understanding is originally it was for printing, it was for a tangible expense. Perhaps we just have the opportunity at a later date, if there is a unique expense, that then the city can come in and share the cost of a specific expense that is that has to do with this residential recruitment and development, as opposed to taking it out and just coming back later. Also, I'm afraid that and maybe not, but the part of Section 8, as far as the Metro Partnership being an independent contractor, I don't know if the language in there, if it would conflict with us requiring that type of specificity for that 12.5.
Certainly cloudies it.
But I think, I think I was here when we changed that language because the printing was no longer on the table. And it was just a way to sort of keep that money supporting the work and any expenses that are incurred. I'm in favor of removing it, but I do think that if there's an ad campaign, or if there's a thing, then they can come back and say, this is how much this is going to cost. Let's partner to get that thing purchased, that project purchased, whatever. I don't know.
So the amendment would just remove it?
Would remove it, but the other half of what Director Webb was saying was this idea of it coming back essentially with like some line items under it. So instead of doing that in that process, my suggestion is similar. It's just, it wouldn't change the contract in the end. It would really just be a request to have a cost share on something else at a later date.
What if he comes back next week and goes, I've got 2 billboards that are 15,000? You know,
We can say,
I mean, you're just gonna put it right back in?
well, I'm saying, I don't think it should come
She's
back into
not
the
saying to
contract, is my thing. I don't think we should.
Vote it up or down on its own merits.
Yeah. I mean, and no, I would prefer not to open the door of a weekly check request process. That's not what I'm suggesting.
That's where I was headed.
Yeah, but I'm just saying with respect to the contract itself, coming back to adjust the contract, again, for line items, especially when it specifically says that the Metro Partnership is an independent contractor, and we don't get into that kind of level of detail because they're an independent contractor.
Correct.
The problem I have with pulling it out is, the world's changed since we first initiated this agreement with Metro Partnership. We talked about the mail away, in that, and now we're all very, very digital, very internet based, and companies that have gone to that method of promotion, they didn't cut budgets, they really increased it, and it's just a different tool. And you still have personnel on the creative side. You still are fielding phone calls from interested from people who are interested in relocating, and they're still providing information. So, I think we're short-sighted to think that just because we're not mailing a hard copy out that there's no work being done. To the degree that we believe there's something tangible with billboards, and we have, 3 million or 9 million visitors? 9 million visitors, and most of them are going to see that billboard. Probably about 80% of them are going to see them going towards the Benton area or going towards Interstate 30 in Arkadelphia. That's there's all means by which we can promote, and I'd hate to say that there's not a value there in what they're currently doing. It may not be, like I say, it may not be a booklet with nice glossy photos and that, but I think Director Holliday made some comments that I believe are well taken by Mr. Troutman and his team here about making sure that all your websites are current and that people are on top of this and that things are updated. I think for the most part, unless you're just breathing the website each and every day, it's outdated when we wake up in the morning. You make a change today, the world changed overnight, and something's quite not right. So those are always going to be work in progress, and we can all do better in that area. But I would be opposed to deleting the 12,500 and let them enhance what they're doing. Any other comments?
Well, I appreciate that you brought up my earlier comments, because I would say if we leave it in there, then I would highly recommend that move to hotsprings.com and the Metro Partnerships website be current. Yes, things change in a moment's notice. However, Levi Hospital did not close yesterday, and the water project did not start yesterday. There are a lot of things that are either missing or outdated, and they're not terribly complicated websites. So while I understand there's staffing changes, however, for a lot of people, this may be their first view, and we should not be providing them inaccurate information, particularly if we have specifically a line item that is supposed to support this kind of conversation. So, understood.
Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I know when the 12.5 first came to my attention, it was my initial understanding that there wasn't any need for it. Like you were talking about, the hard print and everything was gone away. And now it's my understanding that there may be some work that's being done to replace the work of that hard print. However, I still don't know what that 12.5 is going for, because it is listed as an additional sum. Whereas, the scope of services pretty much lays out the remainder part of that contract, which includes the $100,000. I can look at those under the scope. That's 3 and 5, and I can point out, okay, this is where it's going, this is where it's going. So, if it's the board's desire to keep that 12.5, then I would at least like to see what is it being spent for. We should update what is said here on this contract so that it attaches some type of meaning to that 12.5 instead of just being very vague in business and residential recruitment programs when it actually reflects just billboards being put up. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
I just want to know, where is that money going?
But as Director Holliday stated a second ago and confirmed by our city attorney, they're an independent contractor, and as such, we don't tell them how to do the job. They need to do the job, and we can either cancel the contract or or what, but to be that specific in providing them the ingredients as to how to make the cake, you know, they got a responsibility to do it, and we can accept or reject their work product.
Fair enough.
Any additional questions or comments?
I have a question.
Director Holliday?
Less about the amendment on the table, but to Director Webb's point, would we be able to request financials that have a greater degree of specificity than the audit? I don't know if that would help.
You mean specific, being more detailed
Correct.
than just the broad categories?
Than the audit, yeah, because the audit's pretty much, there's very, very few line items. But it sounds like Director Webb wants, really to know where the money's being spent, kind of like Director Trustee asked about with the Majestic contract as well. Essentially, at the end of the day, what are we buying? We can talk about what we're buying in this larger sense, but, with an agreement like this, is it appropriate for us to ask for a different type of financial, not just an audit?
Well, they certainly have a chart of accounts, but at the same time, we're not the sole funder of Metro Partnership. There's multiple entities. We're a large funder, but the county's a funder. Other big businesses in town are funders. So, it's to say, what are we buying? I don't know how you're going to dissect our funds from somebody else's funds. I mean, they showed us right here these various projects that have come through fruition. And
maybe less so what are we buying, more so how funds are being managed. Just by having a P&L or having, something that is more than these are the total revenues, these are the total expenses. And I'm just saying, would that answer the question that is being asked by Director Webb? And if so, is that something that is appropriate to ask for? Because it is appropriate to ask for when we are granting funds in partnership with other organizations. We require more detailed financials. So, would that be seen as appropriate in this case, and would that be a possibility?
We do have the monthly packet, and I do try to send that out to the board, and their financial report is in that packet, and I don't know if you want something more detailed than that, but I do try to share those with the board each month when I get those.
well, and they do have probably 15, 20 different categories of expenditures.
That's a good way to phrase it. Excuse me.
Continue.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. That's a good way to phrase it, what Director Holliday was stating. That's kind of what I'd like to see as well.
Well, then I think what we're being provided may do that, is what you're sharing. I do look at those. I just didn't know if in this conversation, if there was a better way to sort of gel it, as opposed to putting line items in a contract.
Right, yeah.
Well, that is, Bill, we are sharing that with the rest of the directors, so
Yes.
it's there. And certainly, Mr. Troutman, he provides monthly reports, and if he wants to expand a little bit into that category, I'm sure he will. Or if we request him to, he will. And I think he's hearing us. So, all right.
So what's on the floor now?
Well, we have
So what's on an amendment to strike that last sentence?
The last sentence of 5L. Last
So
sentence.
that's what we need to vote on?
Yeah.
That's what's on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, that's an amendment that has been, a motion was made by Director Webb, seconded by Director Garcia. Please call the roll on the amendment to strike the last sentence of 5L.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee?
No.
Holliday?
Aye.
Dobbs Smith?
Aye.
Webb?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
No. Motion is to amend is approved. So that item, that paragraph is stricken.
That's that sentence.
That sentence, I'm
Yes,
sorry, thank you. Last sentence in 5L.
So what is on the floor now, Mayor, is the original motion as amended in paragraph 3M, 5L, and 5M.
Everybody good? Call the roll to approve the.
As amended.
As amended.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Our final action of the action item of the evening is to consider ordinance O-25-47. In order to move forward, I entertain a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title.
So move.
Second.
Who made the motion? Director
I did.
Trustee, seconded by Director Webb. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance O-25-47, an ordinance waiving competitive bidding pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated to section 14-47-138, approving a 3-year service agreement with Motorola Solutions for radios and radio-related equipment operated on the city-owned radio system, and approving amendments to the 2025 budget. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt,
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Webb, and our Chief of Police, Billy Harvington, will provide the staff report. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. The warranty and service agreement for the city-owned radio system with Motorola Solutions expired on April 1st of 2025. In order to provide preventative maintenance, repair, and other services related to radios, dispatch consoles, 911 recording, and other system pieces associated with the city-owned radio system, a service agreement contract must be executed. Thus, the request is being made for the approval of a 3-year contract proposal from Motorola Solutions in the amount of $420,276.08. The contract is based upon 3 one-year terms. Year 1 in the amount of $134,092.40. Year 2 in the amount of $139,988.51. Year 3 in the amount of $146,195.17. This contract was not part of the 2025 budget, which was adopted by the Board of Directors by Resolution 10552. The following budget amendments are requested in order to execute said agreement. $67,046 to governmental funds and general fund dependent departments per the breakdown as follows. Police, $36,143. Animal Services, $1,818. Fire Department, $17,537. Fleet, $2,032. Street Department, $7,699. Transit, $1,818. And also transfer of $67,046 to Utilities Department per the breakdown as follows. Water Department, $22,811. Wastewater, $17,417. Solid Waste, $26,818. It should be noted that all of these departments are users of the city radio system. Also, Motorola has extended the service maintenance until this contract can be executed. So even though the contract ran out on April 1st of 2025, they have extended those services up to this point until this contract can be executed. The overall financial impact for this action is $134,092.40 for the fiscal year of 2025. We are requesting waiver of competitive bidding under Arkansas Code annotated 1447-138B, as this is an exceptional situation. Motorola was the provider, installer of all this equipment, and they have serviced and maintained the equipment up to this point. It would not be in the best interest of the city to attempt to obtain these services through another vendor, nor would another vendor understand the nuances of the radio system. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of the chief? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have anybody sign up?
No, sir.
Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. That completes the action items for this evening. Now we're moving into Board of Directors items for discussion. Any items for discussion amongst directors? Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to convey a public kudos and thank you to the street department for not only the great paving work that's been taking place, but striping. And for over 600 residents that frequently use Abbott Place, the striping has made a big difference in those senior citizens' lives, as well as the other vehicles that are UPS, FedEx, and mail carriers that frequent that location. Thank you.
Very good. Any other? Director Holliday.
Briefly, I just want to thank the Billies for coming out to Park Avenue Community Association last night. Both City Manager Bill Burrow and Chief Billy Harberton were both there, and I heard from residents since then that they were really appreciative of the updates and appreciate the time that our staff takes to come visit with the neighborhoods. So, thank you guys.
Director Webb. Do you have one?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll probably ask one before you leave today. The Director Trustee.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to take the pulse of the board, not a vote, but just the pulse of the board on the situation that Director Beard has talked about for some time, and that's compensation of this board, preparing an ordinance, possibly taking action on that ordinance in December, and then taking it to a vote of the people in March. That's the way it would have to work. We did get an Attorney General's opinion earlier this year, Brian, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And it will have to go to a vote of the people.
That is true. So what would be required, the board would have to pass an ordinance that it then refers to the voters.
That's right.
And so if you're wanting to do that in March, it has to be 70 days prior to March the 3rd would be the election date in 26.
Right.
So you have to be more than 70 days. So that's December 23rd on the dot, which happens to be a Sunday. So you'd have to do it, your board meeting on the 16th would have to be the...
At least, if not before.
If not
right,
before.
the latest. And I don't know if the board would even want to consider something like that. I don't.
Well, really, it'd be up to the voters within the city limits, and so they would always have that opportunity to yay or nay it.
And that was my thought, and I think Director Beard has mentioned that as well in the past. If we have to have a vote, let's have a vote and see.
How much does it cost the city?
About 18,000, am I?
It just depends because the cost is split, but depending on what else on the ballot, and so that is a primary election, and so that our split would be would be split between more entities. So I'd say probably,
Maybe less.
I think
that might have been the
less.
cost of a special election.
Exactly.
But
It's the
this
only
would be
thing on the
much
ballot.
less than that.
Yeah, because
so.
there ought to be, that's true.
My guess would be, I mean, it's a total guess, but 8,000, 7,000 to 8,000. If, I think, don't quote me.
Be from an ordinance, would we have to know an amount? Or is that set at that time?
You know, that is an area that the AG was not completely clear on. So.
What was that?
We can talk about that later.
What was that?
Whether the ordinance would be required to have the
Oh.
amount in it
Yeah.
of compensation, so.
Well, I do know when I have talked to people about serving or thinking about running, there's a lot of people who shy away from considering this position because the time it takes, and there isn't compensation, not because they necessarily want to get paid, but there may be expenses, you know, if they would incur childcare expenses or have to leave work. I know you've talked about there's times you have to pay an employee to be somewhere when you can't be there, or you know, there's it is has been prohibitive for some people. So while I think we all got into this knowing we weren't going to get paid,
That's right.
other people perhaps are choosing not to consider it because they just aren't able or willing to invest that kind of time without, something not just intrinsic in exchange. So I think it's worth letting the people speak. I mean, I'd have no problem voting for it since ultimately it's going to the public.
I think city manager form's the only one that doesn't have compensation. City administrator does.
That's right.
Alderman, mayor.
And we did a brief survey through the AML, got some information from them, and we were one of the only cities that doesn't provide compensation.
Well, you could
in
work
some
it up,
form.
let us look at it, Brian, and see what it might look like and how it might read, because certainly the voters would be the deciding
Right.
entity. I personally haven't looked towards any compensation. I don't submit anything to the city. If we have something that we go to where a block of rooms, the city takes care of that. But I agree with Director Holliday, serving in my capacity here, I've incurred a tremendous amount of expense that I have to have somebody cover my slot at the hotel I own in order to make sure my guests are being served properly. So I don't look for any compensation at all, but at the same time, as you just indicated, you have a business, so somebody's got to be there. And so there are extra hours that are being incurred. So I never want anybody not to be able to serve because they say, I can't afford to be there. People have the ability they have talent, they have different life experiences that we would benefit from. And I'd hate to have somebody say, I can't do it because I can't leave here and lose that revenue. I got to have some ability to replace that. So I'm very respectful of people who are in that situation. So work it up, take a look, and see what it might look like.
Will do.
I had something, but now we've gone so long. We're going to get paid by the hour. I only had one bottle of water. I'm not quite done with that. So, Director Garcia?
Did you have any more comments or announcements, Mayor? Hearing none, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We do have a public comment session afterwards, so